it together. As we initiate chaos theory guarantees that we'll play like lightning shots, sounding like thunder. For every time in the face that it hits us, we're faster. Well, they should know by now. They see the world keeps trying to shake us. It only wakes us. The pendulum swings. The pendulum swings. It's in a beautiful darkness. Only another. It's full steam ahead. Full steam ahead. All above the Betty Express. Misdirected from the start. It's a runaway train. I come a freight train. I come a freight train. In a beautiful darkness, the Betty Express. In a beautiful darkness.
Hey, you guys, we are jumping back in with the autism expert. Unfortunately, she goes for another hour, but at least we are looking forward to the state coming in and doing something, hopefully, possibly.
Related to this incident. I want to kind of give you a hypothetical, okay?
Okay.
Let's say that you have someone who is on the spectrum and has been previously diagnosed with autism, and there have been a number of personal stressors and triggers going on in that person's life. That there have been, let's say in my hypothetical, let's say that they've had group changes for their delivery job. There have been financial stressors at home. There have been familial stressors at home, okay? All of these leading up to a day where a child may see that person doing a hit of cocaine, okay? Thinking about...
Wait a minute. So he didn't hit her with a truck. He was doing a hit of a bump, a line. So it was even it was even less. It was even more senseless. It was even more tragic that he was self-medicating. Again, he made a choice. So where does autism, factor into the fact that he was using substances? Is that a choice, or does autism cover substance abuse issues? Where do we draw the line? Where did Tanner make a choice?
All of that. How does... Well, let me back up. Let me finish my hypothetical. And then the person assumes that this child saw them doing cocaine. He then abducts her and murders her, okay? Looking at all of that, how would theory of mind factor into that scenario and those decisions made by that delivery man?
Well, I would say theory of mind is about understanding somebody else's perception of you. And if your cause to action is to abduct a child and kill them because you think that they may have seen you do cocaine, you are definitely not understanding their perspective. First of all, a young child may not have any idea what cocaine is or what it looks like to use it, or that it's against the law. I'm not saying that is obviously a reason to do anything as heinous as abducting a little girl and killing her. And at the same time, it hypothetically could be a triggering event.
Is this an example of where we're talking about big reactions to what could be little problems?
That would certainly fit that.
When someone has a big reaction to a little problem, how does that deal? I mean, what effect does that have on that small problem? Does it keep it a small problem?
Oh, it's interesting that you asked that, because I always explain it to my clients like this. If you continue to put energy into a problem without taking the time to calm down first, you're probably going to make the situation worse. So I always say when stress goes up, the ability to problem solve goes down. Language processing goes down, okay? It's an inverse relationship for all of us. And so it's why we say, I just need a minute, I'm not ready to talk about it right now, because we need that time to calm down before we work towards socially problem solving something. So then I tell my clients, if something is in your locus of control, so something that you can actually change, that's something to put your energy into. You can't figure that out when you're up here emotionally, if you're dysregulated. So first you gotta calm down. And then you can find out if it's within your control, and putting your energy into things that are within your control can affect positive change. Putting your energy into something that is outside of your control is probably just going to make the problem bigger, or at least keep it the same.
And Dr. Fritz, we've been talking about social cognition. Part of social cognition, would that include something known as central coherence?
Yes. So central coherence is the idea of not being able to see the tree through the forest, or the forest through the trees, I think is how the saying goes. It's that idea that one small detail can take precedence over the big picture. And it tends to be a challenge, especially when people are dysregulated. But a lot of individuals on the autism spectrum have significant difficulties with central coherence. So they're really focused on a small detail that may or may not be as relevant to the discussion as the big picture.
Now let's switch gears again and talk a little bit about social communication. Please explain to the jury what a speech act is.
Sure. So a speech act is a group of words, either sentences or phrases that provide a certain function. So whereas we use words like socially to exchange information, but speech acts have a certain purpose in and of themselves. So it could be things like apologizing, making requests, giving somebody a compliment. Complaining is a speech act. So there are speech acts that we are directly taught, and not only the kinds of words that we use to make the speech act appropriate, but also how we use them. So if I say sorry because, my mom says I have to apologize, it's not the appropriate use of the apology speech act. The words are okay, but how it was said is not.
Dr. Fritz, I want to turn your attention to the evidence in this case and the evidence that you reviewed. Did you have the opportunity to review all of the interrogation videos in this case?
I believe so, yes.
Did you also have copies of the transcripts of those interrogation videos?
Yes, as far as I know, the ones that are listed in the report are the ones that I was able to observe.
In these interrogation videos, did you notice any of the deficits that you have spoken about today?
Yes, it's the speech acts was really obvious to me because there would be a build up in the interview. This is specific to the December 2nd interview, where the investigators were building to what you and I would recognize as an opportunity for an apology. And I wrote in my notes, not sure he knows how to apologize. It's a speech act. And then immediately after, and I apologize, I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was another moment where there was an opportunity to use a specific speech act that Mr. Horner did not use. And my notes say, give the caps, because that was the caps, CAPS. That is the evaluation that I gave, where it's not just about him thinking about his communication, it's him using it. So that's the one with the videos, and he would have to respond to whether something happened inappropriate and what should have happened instead. And so his ability to show understanding and use of speech acts was almost non-existent.
In relation to the video, if someone were to look at that video, not understanding speech language deficits, not understanding speech acts, is it possible for that to be misinterpreted?
For what to be misinterpreted?
The fact that he didn't apologize or didn't understand.
Well, I think what would happen most often for Mr. Horner is he would just say, they're being mean, or she's being nice, or why are they treating her like that? Like he could understand and pick up the big kind of tone of the situation, and he might say something about how it would solve the problem. But he never knew or expressed the words that could be used to solve the problem, or how to use them.
And in not expressing those words, could that be misinterpreted?
Absolutely, because when we don't use expected social behaviors, that tends to be when someone tells you you need to start using an expected social behavior. So those of us who are neurotypical pick up on all sorts of social communication expectations incidentally. So no one said to you directly, I mean, maybe they did when you were really little, but no one says, you know, if someone says goodbye to you, you should say goodbye to them. But you do that. You follow that expected social rule. And individuals on the spectrum absolutely have the ability to use, most of them, if they don't have significant cognitive involvement, to use appropriate social communication. They just haven't been taught the social rules yet. So that's why I think of autism as being, you know, in some ways a very cool strength for a lot of my clients, because they have these abilities to understand patterns, sequences. I was telling Mr. Horner the reason why he is so musical is most likely due to the fact that he's autistic, because the part of your brain that is important for things like math and music is has a lot more neurons dedicated to it in the autistic brain. So I can eventually teach social rules to clients, and then they can apply them. No one's ever going to make me good at calculus. You know, I don't have those neurons in that part of the brain.
And Dr. Fritz, you had talked about that other people might use or note expected social rules and might have to tell somebody about the expected social rules. Do you have an example of that in the evidence that you reviewed?
Oh, there's a lot of examples in, you know, the educational IEP goals that he has relating to appropriateness of social rules. You know, a lot of his goals that he had that throughout his formative years related to that.
Did you by chance review a phone call between Tanner and his mother?
I did. I was able to listen to several jail calls and certainly heard a few between he and his mom.
Were there any of those calls that reminded you or brought to your attention about her teaching him expected social rules?
Yes, there is a time where Mr. Horner says he doesn't understand why the other inmates are looking at him as though he's a monster. And his mom says, you know, think about it. What if someone did this to your child? And only then was he able to kind of put himself in, you know, the Strand's shoes and understand the impact. So that was an example of his mom knowing what he needed to be able to empathize with their family.
And Dr. Fritz, I want to take you back to the first interrogation video.
Mhm.
Let's talk about 0.
Okay.
Do you have any reason to believe that Tanner has multiple personality disorder?
So I'm not an expert on multiple personality disorder. However, I can tell you that I'm really good at knowing when someone's not being truthful. And as I was watching the interrogation video, it was just pretty obvious to me that 0 does not exist, and that Mr. Horner was kind of using
So he's not a lying asshole who was just trying to make up things. It was his autism. What?
him as a tool to maybe tell the story of what had happened.
Is that uncommon with autistic people?
No. So most of us don't like to talk about things we've done wrong, okay, times we've screwed up. Sometimes my autistic clients often will take it a step further where they don't want to talk about it at all, even to the point of needing to problem solve. So in fact, almost every time a client gets on with me and their parent or their spouse walks in and said, "Did you tell Dr. Amy about?" And then my client says, "I don't want to talk about it." I say, "You know what I'm going to say, which is, you tell me you don't want to talk about it, it's exactly what we need to talk about." Because that's usually when change needs to occur. So talking about their social miscues or mistakes in third person seems to be helpful. I even have several clients that talk about their brain as being separate from their self. So my brain told me to, or my brain thought, or my brain guided me to. I have several clients that talk out loud to self-regulate their behavior. And it's this sort of separation between self and behavior.
How does that help? Being able to separate yourself from your behavior?
Yeah, I think it has to do with the emotional intensity of the situation. It's why we use a lot of video modeling in my field, so that first we'll start off by showing a clip of someone using the expected behavior or the maladaptive behavior that's not my client, and ask them to look at it, describe it. My clients can be pretty good about picking out, the differences in that third person perspective. But then when you video model them and put a video of them, especially when it includes a misstep or a miscue, that becomes emotionally upsetting for a lot of clients. That's pretty typical.
So is it easier for them to talk about themselves in the third person rather than in the first?
Yeah, either in the third person, or they talk, like I said, they talk about their brain, which it was honestly, it's not something that I've seen. I didn't see it in literature. I recognized this during my my clinical work, and it just started coming up repeatedly. The idea of thinking of themselves almost as separate from their brain.
So Dr. Fritz, you talked a little bit earlier about social rules.
Mm-hmm.
How do we learn social rules?
So some of them, like the basics, your parents teach you. Tell them please, say you're sorry. Mr. Horner does a pretty good job with the basics. He's uses greetings. He'll, especially if someone else initiates them. And then the other ones we learn kind of by trial and error. So, for example, I have a client that really wanted the attention of his peers, and he didn't know how to get it in a pro-social manner. So when he was at youth group, he started throwing beanbags at people. Well, not surprisingly, that didn't get him any friends at youth group. So I had to teach him how to slip into a group in a way that's socially acceptable, because he knew it wasn't working for him, but he didn't know how to fix it.
Now let's switch to Tanner.
Mm-hmm.
Is he able to follow the rules once he understands them?
To some degree. I think we see that in, the fact that he has not had, to my knowledge, any incidents in the jail. I think that he has followed rules intermittently throughout his life, effectively. Keeping it together long-term is harder for him. That's why, oftentimes he got fired from jobs, got kicked out of bands. But he can learn and apply rules. And we saw that, I think, most evidence best. And there was a period of 9 visits with a speech language pathologist that did home visits. Her name is Marietta Weaver. And his response to her intervention was sort of ideal in his understanding of the rules that she taught. The challenge with pragmatic social communication is the demands continue to change over time. So when you're little, you have to learn how to share toys with other people. When you're older, you got to learn how to ask somebody on a date or how to get a job. And then you have to learn how to, deal with a coworker who's a pain in the butt. So everything continues to evolve and change over time. So do the social rules that go with it.
And Dr. Fritz, you have worked in the forensic field.
Mm-hmm.
So you understand that now in pleading guilty to this offense, Tanner will spend the rest of his life in prison.
Mm-hmm.
How important is following the rules in prison?
Well, it can be life or death, for sure. I work with some clients that are preparing for incarceration. I work with a couple of clients who are incarcerated. And I can tell you that general population will make sure that you understand the rules if you're not applying them. And I will say that there's not opportunities for isolation in prison for anyone who's in Gen Pop. And that's sometimes a need for many of my clients. Without that ability to recharge their social battery, then they will oftentimes, have difficulty with that emotion regulation piece that we're talking about, with following the social rules consistently. And
give us time right there, because I want to ask a follow-up question real quick. Are you saying that Tanner would not be able to follow those social rules once he's learned them?
Yeah, no, he could follow them. And if he has a misstep, they will be corrected. Or that he will be corrected, I should say.
Dr. Fritz, the last area that I want to talk with you about is empathy.
Mm-hmm.
What is empathy?
So empathy itself is basically an understanding of what someone is experiencing and the ability to relate it to self. So cognitively, you would say oh, I see what you're going through. Or affectively, it would be something like, I feel you, I understand it, okay? And empathy has a second part, which is not just understanding it, but being able to communicate that to others.
Is empathy the same as sympathy?
No, sympathy is more, it's more base level. It's just, I can feel sorry for you, but I don't have to, it's almost like pity. It's not the same as, and I feel that pain that you're going through.
Is it the same as remorse?
No, if you looked at it on a hierarchy, it would kind of be like sympathy, then empathy, and then remorse. Because if in a situation where you need remorse, okay, when you've screwed up, because remorse is the idea that I did something wrong, I have guilt and shame about it, I'm morally culpable, and I want to do what I can to repair it or make amends.
When looking at the evidence in this case, were you able to see empathy and remorse in the videos or the interrogation or the phone calls or the note to the parents?
Sure. So first of all, let me start with the empathy piece. I definitely saw that Mr. Horner has the ability to empathize. I saw it in relation to Characters in the video, why are they being so mean to her? She's so nice. Why are they treating her like that? I saw it with regards to pictures of animals that were in cages. They look sad. Again, we saw evidence of it with regards to Athena's family when his parents or when his mom directly correlated it to his own child. And then I think probably the best evidence of remorse and empathy would be in the suicide note that he wrote to Athena's parents.
So let's talk about the suicide note. Why do you say that that is the best example of Tanner expressing empathy and remorse?
The reason why is it meets the criteria for remorse, okay?
And what is that criteria?
Sure, there's four main components. There's recognition of having done something wrong. And I'm going to look at my notes because I quoted Tanner directly. He said, "I've done a terrible thing to your family and I'm sorry." So that's recognition. There is expected to be some sort of remote emotional response, whether that's directly saying, "I feel guilty" or "I'm ashamed," or it can be an act, like it can be repentance. You will notice if you see the suicide note that he says, "I want you to know I found God through this." So that's an example of an emotional response. Also, it can be in sort of this moral discomfort. And in that suicide note, he also talks about the fact that he is unable to sleep, that's kind of haunting him. So we have that emotional response piece. A moral evaluation then is basically shouldn't have happened. And Mr. Horner's words were, "I'm sorry I took your little angel. She didn't deserve it. Y'all didn't deserve it." And then he goes on to talk about his own family and child not deserving it either. And then a desire to repair or make amends. And he explained his mental state. I think he got into that too much, and it sounds like an excuse. When you read the suicide letter, it also has falsehoods in it. He talks about the fact that there was a broken backup camera, which we know is not true. So I think he muddied the waters of this remorseful suicide note because he's not good at explaining his emotions in ways that are clear, uncomplicated, and done with regard for the person it's being written to. But he did say he's trying to ease their suffering with his death. And he said he signed off with love and sorrow and remorse. And I would consider this potentially lip service if any of this language was easy for Mr. Horner. I don't think it is for him to come up with these kinds of words. And more importantly, he thought he was going to die. He had a very serious suicide attempt. So I take it as genuine.
Well, Dr. Fritz, how do you reconcile that with all of the blatant lies that he told the detectives in the note that he wrote to them?
I think he was just grasping at straws. I really don't know what he was thinking.
But in the suicide note, based upon the criteria that you had spoken about regarding remorse, did his note meet all of those criteria?
It did.
I'll pass the witness.
Let's take a break and we'll come back in at 2:30. Okay? See you then.
No, dear, all I was saying was neither one of you are as bad as Pam. who absolutely took her own feelings over her child's in multiple situations. What you guys are doing is having coordination issues. Doesn't make either one bad. It just it's difficult to drop everything at absolutely every particular situation. So.
All right, cross-examination, Ms. Dooley.
Thank you, Judge. Hi, Dr. Fritz.
Hi.
I realized I forgot to introduce myself to you earlier. I'm Michelle Dool. I'm an assistant district attorney. I believe earlier you talked a little bit about your practice and I guess your clinical work. So do you still actively work? Do you call them clients or patients?
Yes, clients.
Clients.
Yes, ma'am. So currently I see clients 3 days a week.
And these are mostly, I think you said 95% your level 1 high functioning.
Yes, probably
Autism.
90%. Yes, ma'am. There, because I also have I have a couple clients with level 2 and a couple clients with just anxiety.
And in these, I don't know if it's appropriate to, I hate calling them level 1s, but level 1 high functioning, autism spectrum disorder clients.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you said there can be in any career field.
Yes, ma'am.
And so they're actively in the workforces.
Yes, some more successfully than others, but yes, people with autism are in every act of life and doing amazing things.
So just because you have level 1 autism does not mean that you're going to commit a crime or that you can't be a functioning member of society.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Kind of talking a little bit about this case. You first met the defendant, I believe, in January of 2026. Is that correct?
That sounds correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a little bit more than 3 years, I believe, since this crime occurred November 30th of 2022. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And your opinions in this case, really, you looked at all the expert reports that you got from other doctors, and then it was all self-reported type things from the defendant to your corner. Is that?
No. So I did direct assessment. So, and I did records review and social history. So, and collateral interview. So definitely not all from Mr. Horner. That's a small portion of it.
Okay. And you talked about the test. So there's no standardized testing for somebody, I think you said over 22.
That's correct.
Okay. So you took what maybe would have been given and kind of adapted it.
That's correct.
Okay.
So, some of the assessment that I gave his grandmother, which is an interview-based assessment, can be used throughout adulthood. His receptive and expressive vocabulary ones provided normative data that's used throughout adulthood. But the CAPS, that's the one where it's the little videos. That maxes out at age 18. So I scored it as though he was 18, just so I could get a sense of severity. And it came out as severely to profoundly impaired, even if he were 18.
And Dr. Fritz, you talked about records. How important were reviewing the records in this case?
I think educational records tell a big story.
And you did not review all the records that could have been provided to you, did you?
I don't know. I did review the ones that were provided, but I'm not sure what other ones exist.
So did you review all of his medical records in this case?
Only the ones that you see listed.
So you reviewed the specific reports from the defense experts in this case, correct?
That was some of what I reviewed. And then I also reviewed the, educational records, his medical records from a couple different facilities.
And you did not make any diagnoses though in this case, other than what you talked about earlier, those two that you made.
Correct.
But you didn't make a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, correct?
No, ma'am, I don't have the credentials to do that.
And you didn't make a diagnosis of any type of neurodevelopmental disorder or alcohol exposed?
No, ma'am.
If the branch of fetal alcohol syndrome that you.
Sorry, guys. I am doing some momming stuff. I completely spaced. I thought that you could renew passports. So a blended family trying to coordinate. And I will say that youngest daughter's dad is and bonus mom are extremely kind and coordinating and helpful. So I'm trying to coordinate stuff, but yeah, it's a lot of things. Also, what in the absolute crap spackle? So everything that he does that's bad can be confused or can be covered by, well, it's autism, but it's not an excuse, you guys. It's totally not an excuse or a defense, but every bad thing he did could be explained away by autism. Does she realize what she's doing to people that to regular everyday people, normal people who just have autism?
You were speaking of,
Right.
you didn't make that diagnosis.
No, ma'am.
In reviewing his records, did you review his social media records?
No, I was gonna say no, but then I did see some thing that came from the state. I'm trying to think, I think it was the information that was provided to Dr. Rumbala. And there was some description of his presence on social media.
But you didn't review the entire Facebook or Instagram records that there are, correct?
I don't know what the whole record is. I saw some, but I didn't see it.
And you spoke about reviewing the, I think you called it the abduction video.
Mm-hmm.
That was obviously from the FedEx truck, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How much of the FedEx truck videos did you review? Do you know how many hours that was?
I saw, there was a PowerPoint that was sent to Dr. Rumbala that kind of had an integrated video clip with a little description. I reviewed that, and I reviewed
And how dare she, again, after you watch that video and you can still say what you're going to say here. I have been very careful with you guys. I have read the transcripts and she actually heard them and she is going to say that this is emotional dysregulation. Well, no crap. If you are if you are regulated, she heard the audio, she saw the video, and she's still going to claim that this is part of an autistic meltdown. You'd have a better chance if you said that it was an effect of the, bump of sea powder that he took, that he was enraged and unable to control himself because he was intoxicated on the big sea. But instead, you want to cloak him with autism to cover all of this?
recording. Again, if I knew, it wasn't hours.
So if I told you that there was 30 to 40 hours of FedEx
Did not see that.
camera video, you did not see all that.
That's correct.
Did you see any of the video that was prior to the abduction?
I saw a video of Mr. Horner that day doing other deliveries.
That full 8 hours of his day?
Yeah, so I saw like where the video would be stopped and it would say like stop number 1, and then it would show a short snippet of him.
Okay, so you did not watch the actual video?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And did you watch any of the FedEx video that showed what the defendant did after the crime?
I saw body cam video and I saw interrogation, but in FedEx video, no.
So if all of those recordings would have shown essentially the defendant interacting with different people, whether it be, people he's dropping off packages to, neighbors, people coming up to his window, just general conversations prior to the crime, would that have been helpful to you to see how his language skills were working?
So I did see some of that. So in the clips that you mentioned, like there's a dog that's comes and so he has to slam the door and, you know, he has a short greeting or exchange with somebody. So, and there's a few examples like that, just little short snippets of communication.
I mean,
But is there more?
yeah, there's 40 hours.
Yeah,
of
no.
video.
Yes, it would have been helpful to see more.
Okay. And I guess, I know you've seen apparently some snippets, so I don't exactly know what you've seen, but
Objection, Your Honor, to the sidebar.
Just answer, question and answer.
as for the FedEx videos after the crime, did you watch any of the videos from the days after November 30th of 2022?
No, ma'am. FedEx videos?
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you think that that would have been helpful in knowing how he was interacting the days after the crime?
It might have. I can tell you that the video snippets that I saw during, you know, the day of the crime and also the interrogation videos of him after the crime weren't surprising to me because the language that he was using, say, with other people on his route was in keeping with what I expected to be his strengths.
So you're saying he didn't react at all with any remorse, any sense of outward sadness or sorrow about what he'd done?
Do you know how many experts Tanner Horner had seen before you?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Over.
No, I don't.
And did you contact, in part of your review, any of the school providers that actually worked with Tanner Horner
No, ma'am.
when he was young?
No, I did not.
Do you believe that they would have given him some of these exams?
Given him some of the, what do you mean?
The tests that you have spoken about, you said that they are only good until they're 22 years old.
Oh,
Correct.
yes. So that's interesting. When you look at his educational records, there's a lot of focus on behavior.
Judge, objection, non-responsive.
Sustain.
So the question.
Hang on. Wait
Sorry.
till she asks you the next question.
Okay.
So as for your specific exam, you went and adapted the test, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Did he have any issues with answering any of your questions or answering the questions on that exam?
Yes.
And what issues did he have?
Well, he had significant difficulty with all of the assessments. And what I was starting to say, and I don't know if this, I want to answer your question, was that you asked if he had been given any of these assessments during his formative years. And one of the CAPs didn't exist. So I wanted to clarify that. It was only developed about 5 years ago. And also in the educational records, there is a significant focus on behavior. And I think that maybe took precedence.
I guess to follow up with that,
So who gave him the diagnoses of autism? I mean, I'm guessing it would be one of his pediatricians or a combination of pediatricians and mental health providers. But Haley Mouse, there does seem to be a bit of malingering here, or as I said yesterday, Schrodinger's autism, where depending on what the defense needs for mitigation, they claim that he's profoundly affected, but if they need to show that he can carry on loving, emotional, supportive relationships, then he's only lightly affected.
it have been helpful to you to be able to speak to the people who actually knew him during those formative years?
It wouldn't have hurt, for sure.
So you didn't speak to anyone who knew him in his formative years, yet you feel confident saying that it was autism that did this?
You talked about his job history. So Tanner Horner was able to hold jobs, correct?
For short periods of time, yes.
He worked for Walmart for a year and a half, is that correct?
I'm not sure the length of time, but if you say so, yes.
It's in your notes. Do you
Okay.
have your notes in front of you?
Yeah, I don't, whereabouts in my notes does it say how long?
It's in the location that, when I guess he's talking about his job.
Oh, my personal notes.
Yes, your
Yes,
personal
sorry.
notes in this case.
Yes. I think I have them. And I apologize that you had to try to read my writing.
It's okay, and your notes aren't numbered, but, so I'm just, and I can tell you they're one, two, I think the 5th page.
Okay, so,
Okay, this is breaking news. JKD Buck has solved a mystery. We have been racking our brains. We cannot figure out where we knew this woman from, but JKD Buck has cracked this. So here we are. No, I don't want to save. Oh, for the love of Cheetos. You know I can't do these things. Darken up the eyebrows. I think we've got it. He also does, she will not invest in your product. Oh, gosh. It's like staring at Shark Tank. I knew this woman made me uncomfortable. I don't understand finances or business.
oh, yes. And he was fired when he had an altercation with a customer.
Yes.
So he reacted violently to a customer. But sure, he's going to be safe in the general population.
And so did he get in a fight with the customer, or?
I don't remember the specifics on it. I apologize.
So he worked for a year and a half, but then he got fired for altercation with a customer.
Mhm.
Okay. And he also had a job at Albertsons. I believe there, Tanner Horner stated he was on K2 and he got in a fight with his cock-blocking roommate.
Yep.
And so I guess.
He was on K2, following in his family's long tradition of substance abuse. So again, what part of, because I'm sure she's going to also be of the, let's say, persuasion that believes that substance abuse disorder is a disease as well. So why didn't the defense, use that he was a substance abuser? Is that because most places don't count that as, any sort of mitigating factor? Also, was your roommate simply telling you that underage girls were illegal? I mean, what is a C block and what is a predator block? I mean, let's be real. Was your roommate trying to explain to you that he was not going to allow you to bring underage girls back to his house?
Lost that job?
Yeah, so I think he had a roommate that I sort of feel like it was in the parking lot, but again, I'm just kind of guessing to fill in the gaps.
Would you agree? I mean, you have a variety of jobs listed, but his autism didn't mean that he couldn't hold a job. Would you agree with that?
I believe autistic people can hold jobs. I think Mr. Horner has a really strong history of losing jobs because of his emotion dysregulation.
And didn't he say that he quit nearly half of his jobs due to, quote, a lack of work ethic on his part?
Yes, which can also go hand in hand with the diagnosis. Sometimes we see reduced motivation. So yeah, work ethic problems, interpersonal problems, those seem to be the two biggest reasons he lost jobs, along with transportation issues at times.
As far as, your diagnosis in this case, you said it was like mild to severe impairment, but you did find that from some areas he did have strengths, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the areas that he had strengths is he could make and respond to greetings appropriately, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
Yes.
Sorry, the court reporter was kind of making
Yes, of course, sorry.
And he can understand clearly stated rules, correct?
Yes.
And he can apologize appropriately, correct?
I don't know that I have, I'm trying to think if I have strong evidence. The only evidence I see of a real apology would have been, that I can think of, is in the suicide letter.
Okay.
I think in that context he did, but I'm not sure that I've heard evidence of apologies in general.
And then I'm going to refer you to page 16 of your report.
Thank you.
That's the third full paragraph on that page, kind of the third sentence down. But you specifically state that he revealed several social pragmatic strengths. He consistently makes in response to greetings and farewells. He shows a sense of humor. He apologizes appropriately, offers help to others, and understands posted or clearly stated rules.
Yes. So this is the section that is from the, let me make sure I don't speak out of turn here.
This is in your analysis of results, is that correct?
Right. So I think that relates, and I want to double check because I don't want to say anything wrong, because I think that relates to his self-report of being able to apologize. And your question was regarding whether I saw it. So let me look and see how he rated himself there.
And Judge, I'm going to object to non-responsive.
Sustained.
Okay.
You stated that during his evaluation, he demonstrated a good sense of humor, correct?
Yeah.
And within that sense of humor, while you guys were doing your evaluation, he actually made a joke about an otter.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
That's right.
And what you were telling him was that there was an otter with law enforcement that was used to actually locate missing children.
Specifically missing children in water.
In water. And his response was to essentially make a joke saying, he used, I guess, a wordplay, and instead of otter, he said odder.
That's right.
The D's, is that correct?
That's correct.
That's a decent, one that shows his humor, but that's also a decent level of wordplay and language.
I don't care if he makes Jimmy Kimmel look like an untalented, unfunny punk. Oh, wait, that's anyone. I don't care if he could make me laugh harder than George Carlin. I don't care about his humor. In this face? Why is Hatchet Face on my screen?
So you agree, right?
Yes, he has a really good sense of puns. His use of sarcasm is also very good. His ability to accept it from others is much more difficult.
You talked about, a little bit about his interrogations in law enforcement, correct? And in your view, you saw some evidence of some of these language issues.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that you said in your report was that the defendant's extreme social pragmatic deficits, his emotional dysregulation, his inability to express congruent messages that match intent certainly impacted his communication with law enforcement. And you talked about that a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You also stated that
JK Debug, I am going to see you, Kevin from Shark Tank, and raise you a hatchet face.
Don't you got tits? Stick 'em up.
I'm saying the eyebrows are dead on. I'm a terrible person.
these types of language challenges are often seen in individuals with autism spectrum disorder and can impact the effectiveness of Tanner Corner's oral explanations and storytelling. Is that correct? That's from your report?
Yes, ma'am.
He was able to actively lie to the FBI and give them a full story about a green van. Do you recall that?
I did not see, as far as I know, I saw him with the Texas Ranger. I'm not sure that I saw an interrogation with the FBI.
So you didn't see any of the video regarding speaking to the FBI then?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. In part of the interrogations with the Texas Ranger, would you agree that he was able to clearly communicate his version of the story at that time, that he was backing into her and all the other details? I mean, he was very detailed. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely gave details that were completely false. And there were several times that the investigator said, and I need to get you back to the big picture. On the December 2nd interview, because he would kind of go down those tangents.
That's because they were still trying to locate Athena Strain, correct?
As far as I know, yes.
Was he able to clearly give his version of placing the body in the bamboo? And he actually gave clear and precise turn-by-turn directions to investigators to get them to that bamboo forest.
As far as I know, I didn't
He clearly lied to the police. Isn't that good? What defense? I am confused.
see, was that on the body cam video?
Yes.
Okay, then yes, I'm
And
assuming.
did you see the video where he ultimately led them to the recovery of Athena Strain's body?
I did.
In that one, again, granted, he came into 0, but then he still was able to give very clear turn-by-turn directions. He was able to very clearly tell him exactly where they put Athena Strain.
Right, so you have two things at play there.
Is that a yes or no?
What was your question?
He was able to concisely and very clearly give turn-by-turn directions and explanation of where Athena Strain's body was found in Bobo's Crossing.
Yeah.
Correct. You talked a lot about empathy, and kind of want to talk to you a little bit about that. You reviewed all the letters that he wrote with his suicide attempt, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you put in your report that that was, you saw in that deep empathy, was that correct?
Yes.
In a letter to law enforcement, you read that letter, correct?
Yes.
Okay. He denied responsibility and he blamed somebody else for the crime, is that correct?
Yes,
And you know that to be not true, correct?
that's correct.
Okay. Is that empathy to the family to leave them thinking somebody else out there killed their daughter?
Of course not.
In the letter to the family,
Mhm.
he said, sorry. And so many people were affected by his breakdown, right?
Mhm.
Not just your family, but my own as well, correct?
Right.
He said he owed it to you all to explain where my mind was at. But then he still gave untrue versions of the events. He blamed and talked about his Asperger's, not doing well with change, his different route, his being sold off to another company. But he still did not give a full telling of the events in that letter to the family, correct?
Correct.
Is that deep empathy to tell the family a version of the story that's still not true?
He meets the criteria for showing deep empathy. He absolutely was giving falsehoods and inexplicably trying to cover his tracks. It makes no sense. It's not logical, but that goes to what I was saying about the inappropriatenesses of his social communication.
And how
Wait, so I'm sorry. So again, you're taking away agency from Tanner to make any empathy correctly or legitimately or sincerely. Again, you are implying that anyone who is on the spectrum doesn't have legitimate feelings, authentic feelings. Just because Tanner's lying, I'm sorry, but not everything is down to his autism. At a certain point, Tanner made choices.
is that remorse when he is still providing, even in this letter that is supposed to be left to this family in this suicide attempt, he is still giving these falsehoods that would make them believe that somebody else was involved and still not tell them the full story of what he did to their daughter. That's remorse?
I'm not sure I know anything about somebody else being involved. What are you
The
referring
letter to
to?
law enforcement, he said somebody else was involved, correct?
Yes, I thought you meant the letter to Athena's family.
No. And then the letter to his family, he is still telling the incorrect version of those events.
He's still
How
not
is that
accepting blame.
remorse?
He is not fully accepting blame for and he is trying to make an excuse. And at the same time, his language is indicative of remorse, and that's what I'm here to opine on.
So he's fully not accepting blame and he's still blaming others. So but you're saying that's
What's the
remorse?
question? Is that remorse? Yes. And what he did say is remorseful. The lies that he told it doesn't serve any communicative purpose, which I think goes.
Well, good news, cheating husbands and human douche canoes of all types. If you can say you're even slightly on the spectrum, no matter what the hell you say or how the hell you say it, apparently it is deep remorse.
to the more evidence to the fact that he has such a significant social communication
So
deficit.
you're stating that his language is stating remorse, but we can't really tell whether or not he meant remorse. Would you agree with that?
Well, I said that I had 4 criteria for remorse that had to be communicated, and
I'm gonna object, non-responsive judge.
Just done.
What did Tanner Horner tell you about crime?
completely lied to me.
What did he tell you?
Told me there was no backup camera and he hit Athena and freaked out because he didn't know how to handle it. I don't think we got into much more than that.
And this was January 14th, or actually, excuse me, January 15th or January 16th of 2026, a few months ago.
That's right.
And he completely lied to you.
Correct.
But we're supposed to believe that the letter is him being remorseful?
Well, I want to answer the question. My suggestion of why that shows true remorse is because he thought he was going to die after he wrote it. He had a very significant suicide attempt. So was he lying to my face, and was that very difficult to know that and still see him as somebody who was remorseful? Absolutely, that was hard.
When he was lying to you, did you challenge him on that lie?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I needed to see the accuracies or the inaccuracies in his story. And so I didn't want to shut him down.
So what did he tell you about the sexual assault at the Athena Strand?
Did not mention it.
And did you ask him?
No, ma'am.
Did you watch the full abduction video that showed the kidnapping, sexual assault, and murder of Athena Strand?
I watched whatever I told you I watched. I don't know that it was the full video. It's whatever was provided in that package to Dr. Rumbala and then was provided as state evidence through the defense to me.
So are you saying you just watched the PowerPoint, you didn't actually watch the actual video?
I was not given the actual video.
On that PowerPoint, you, I guess, got some clips though from
Yes,
that,
ma'am.
but not the entire video.
Mhm.
Okay. When did you receive that?
About 3 days ago.
Were you surprised by what you saw?
Yes, ma'am.
What were you surprised by?
I was most surprised by the violence. I think the violence of it was really incongruent with the gentleman that I met, with the reports that I read hours about. It was shocking. It was horrific. It's awful, and I'm so sorry.
Were you as surprised that you weren't able to see the emotional dysregulation that you thought you would see?
I was surprised by it, and I did see a significant amount of language variation from the beginning to the end of the video. But I don't see the red face. I didn't see head banging. You know, some of those sort of stereotypical indications of an autism meltdown were not there.
You expected to see a meltdown, and you didn't see it.
That's right, ma'am. I didn't see the obvious physical meltdown.
And again, you apparently weren't provided with the entire video, so I don't know specifically what clips you saw.
Mhm.
But depending on what you saw, were you able to see how, I guess, calm he was when he grabbed her and put her into the truck?
Yes,
And were you able to see him speaking to Athena Strand?
yes.
And what was his language like at that point when he was just talking to her at the very beginning?
Calm, calming.
And and did you hear Tanner Horner say, "Don't scream or I'll hurt you"?
Yes, multiple times.
Be kind to your mental health. I think we are going into some of the testimony that maybe only the jury saw. We didn't see it. So be kind to your own mental health. This state has been very good at being respectful and restrained, but obviously this is still tough testimony, tough information to go through.
When did the language change?
I believe after his attempt to asphyxiate her, but I could be wrong about the chronology of it.
At some point, did his language become angry?
Hostile, yes.
And heard the video. He yelled at her, he told her to shut up,
Called her a bitch.
multiple profanities. Horrible language, would you agree? His language changed when she wouldn't die. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
He had no empathy that day, did he?
In that moment, I don't think he was empathetic to Athena, no.
In fact, afterwards, he was seen smoking a cigarette, looking content. Would you agree?
I didn't see him smoking a cigarette, I'm sorry.
You didn't see that part?
No, ma'am.
Did you see the part where he was cleaning up?
I did. Yes,
Did you hear him talking on the phone to his boss, making up a lie about him throwing up?
yes,
He seemed calm and his language was steady. Would you agree with that?
I would agree.
And he was able at that point to communicate to his boss effectively.
All right, 10 minutes, we'll call you right back in.
I think the state is doing an incredible job. Again, these are terrible things that they have to go through, but she's making good points that Tanner didn't show emotional dysregulation. He was calm, he was cool, he was collected. He had control of his voice when he got Athena into the truck, and then it changed. And that was a conscious choice.
The mom talking to him in the jail call, and that the mom had to explain to him why other inmates were looking at him like a monster, and he related it to his son. Correct?
She related it.
She related it to his son, correct? Okay. Are you aware that he said if it was my son, he would take care of it himself?
That's right.
Meaning he would kill the person who did that to his child.
That was what I implied from what you said.
We talked about triggering events. You apparently didn't watch the whole video. So did you actually see any triggering event?
No, ma'am.
So if there was evidence in this case that showed that there was planning and lead up and covering up cameras ahead of time, and there was not a triggering event, would that change anything in your opinion?
It would make it even harder to understand Mr. Horner's actions.
You were given a hypothetical that said if there was all this stuff going on, right, and there was cocaine use, did you actually see any cocaine use?
No, ma'am.
In this hypothetical, though, if there was cocaine use by the defendant and he went, I think your words were big reactions to small problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that hypothetical, though, we did not talk about sexual assault. How does sexual assault play into big reaction, small problems?
I don't think it does.
I'll give you another hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
If the defendant, whether he's triggered or not triggered, if
Objection, Your Honor, that's an improper hypothetical to use the defendant. It has to be, if she's going to have a hypothetical, it needs to be a proper hypothetical.
Rephrase your question.
absolutely, Judge, I'm gonna give you a hypothetical. If somebody was caught using drugs in jail and their trigger causes them to, have a big reaction to small problems and turn to violence when they're caught using drugs and they go to attack an inmate or a guard, that'd be a problem, right?
I agree that would be a problem.
And that would make that person.
So this man not only was doing not street legal pharmaceuticals in prison, but he then attacked someone when he was corrected on it. And the defense is sitting here and has for 3 days straight in our faces told us that he wouldn't be a problem, that he's not a violent or, aggressive person that needs to be, separated from the rest of society because of his lack of self-control. Yeah, you should be crying. Your career is over. Your credibility is torched. You torched your credibility on Tanner flippin' Horner. I hope you're happy.
Dangerous, correct?
If they had a reaction like that too, and if they had access to use drugs and then have that reaction, yes.
You're not offering an opinion today that his language abilities caused him to commit this crime.
No, ma'am.
And you're certainly not saying that all autistic people would commit this type of violence.
Of course not.
And you're certainly not saying that Tanner Corner is not capable of understanding right from wrong.
That's right.
That's what the judge.
Redirect.
Yes, Dr. Fritz. Let's talk about the records that you were provided.
Okay.
You had mentioned that you had been
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. I refuse to feel a modicum of compassion for you. You stood there on the body of that little girl and claimed that Tanner's the real victim because of autism. So how about you deal with the fact that the state was incredibly kind? They could have torched you beyond recognition, okay? They just torched your credibility. But you knew going in what he did to this little girl. And if you didn't know, you sure as hell knew after you saw the video. And the fact that you continued to get up here is telling.
and provided the same records that had been provided to a Dr. Arangula. Do you know who Dr. Arangula is?
No.
Were you given a report from Dr. Arangula?
Hold on just a moment. Yes, I was.
With regards to the jobs that the state asked you about,
RJ and LC, I get the defense has a job to do and someone's got to do it, but at times, how can it be that they're not charged as accomplices after the fact when knowingly try to release these violent criminals? Honestly, I don't know if they're inherently sadistic, because you've got to imagine that logically they know that he's not going to survive in Gen Pop, that he will probably be safest on death row. So I don't know if it's like a suicidal empathy or sadistic empathy, where to deal with your moral disinclination towards ultimate punishment, you would rather someone go into a less secure facility because you don't trust the government, which I kind of get, but still, this expert has been awful.
what significance were the incidents that led to Tanner's either resigning or firing or leaving that job?
Lots of difficulty with what we call adulting. Transportation issues, significant interpersonal conflicts, difficulty understanding the importance of being a contributing member to society and continuing to have a work ethic, even when you don't want to. Those things are challenges that Mr. Horner consistently displays.
Is that something that you see in your patients?
Very often, yes.
When you are talking about your patients and talking about Mr. Horner, how does the fact that he has these comorbidities come into play? I mean, how does that affect the deficits that he has?
Well, mental health issues can definitely exacerbate the challenges that we see from being neurodiverse. And I think those are extreme in Mr. Horner's case, along with his social history.
The state talked to you about the strengths that were noted in your report. Mm-hmm. When you are looking at a patient or a client, do you focus on the strengths or do you focus on the deficits?
The deficits.
Why do you focus on the deficits? Because
the DSM, it's called the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. It's what we use to give a diagnosis. For that, it's deficit driven. So you have to be able to look and see those. Unlike, like if they could do a blood test to see if you're diabetic, autism is a clinical diagnosis. So it's based on having those deficits.
With regards to the deficits, how severe were the deficits that you saw in Tanner?
Very severe in terms of his pragmatic deficits, his social communication deficits, very severe. Expressive receptive depended on the area. Some areas I was relatively typical in or had mild deficits, and other areas were more impaired.
Dr. Fritz, is there a difference between being able to give information versus being able to effectively communicate?
That's a great question. Yes, so information exchange is one portion of communication, and the giving and receiving of information is one part of it, but communication involves all those other subtle nuances that I've been talking to you about, like facial expressions and other forms of nonverbal communication to make
Welcome. This is Thor, the non-consensual cuddler. He also likes to turn off the mic. The internet is not his problem. That's a me thing, but yeah, he does like to turn off the mic.
So the fact that Tanner could give information, does that necessarily mean that he didn't have the deficits that you had talked about earlier?
No, and in fact, I think when he gave information in the interrogation video, for example, he was giving information, but the detective had to continually bring him back to point because he was missing the big picture.
The clip.
In the giving and receiving of directions, that's one subset of information exchange. And some individuals have a strength in that area. Mr. Horner also told me he has a strength in the giving and receiving of details relating to time. And the reason he has that, as far as I understand, is because of the fact that time is so hard for him. So he likes to know exact information there. Those things are under the same subcategory of pragmatics. So those you can have relative strengths within a given aspect of communication and still have overlying deficits.
Is it possible for one to commit a horrific crime and still have deficits?
Absolutely.
And again, you're not here to excuse what happened or to justify what happened?
No.
Not here to say that his autism caused any of this?
Absolutely not.
And Dr. Fritz, the last thing I want to talk to you about is one of the things that the state brought up regarding the suicide letters.
Mm-hmm.
How many letters did you review related to his suicide attempt?
I think maybe 4. I know I remember reading one to the detectives. I know I read one to his pastor, Mimi, or his grandmother, and 5, because I also read one to his mother, and then I read the one to Athena's family.
I think we can agree that the letter to the detectives carried a lot of falsehoods in it.
Absolutely.
Does that change your opinion about the letter that he sent to Athena's family?
No, there are falsehoods in the letter he sent to Athena's family as well. And I think the information that he included to the detectives, the lies he tried to perpetuate in his letter to Athena's family, is just evidence of how limited his theory of mind is, his ability to use perspective taking, to recognize that people might compare notes, to recognize that you can, if you want to show true remorse and you want to do so effectively, it's not only the words that are on the page, it's also trying to avoid what the mistakes you've made or correct the mistakes that you've made in the past. And I think that's the deficit occurring. As I mentioned earlier, the words are there that show remorse. And I think it becomes muddied by attempts to place blame otherwise.
When you're looking at the letter to the parents, it appears that he was trying to explain what happened. Is an explanation of how someone got to where they are the same as blaming?
No, I think his explanation of his stress is real and genuine, and I understood why he included that. I also want you to know that the route being changed frequently is a true trigger for a lot of my clients. It's a very real trigger. I can understand those explanations. The continual lying is the part that I think is trying to push blame elsewhere. And that's the part that that's not logical. And when it's not logical, that calls to mind deficit to me.
And Dr. Fritz, at the end of the day, did that letter meet the criteria for remorse?
It does. It has all 4 qualifying factors of language that's remorseful.
Do you have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Dool.
Very, very briefly.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware that he had the same route the day before?
I'm not sure if I knew that in particular. I do know he was on a floater route, so there was some inconsistencies in his route.
So his route being changed caused him to intentionally kidnap, sexually assault, and murder Athena Catch?
No, there's no direct cause and effect here. There's no explaining away his violent act. 100% no. And I can tell you that changes in routine, the lack of structure and predictability are triggers in autism.
You stated that what you see is what you get with autistic people.
No, I'm not getting storms. I'm looking fine on my end. So I have no idea. Lord, how do I look? No, he hasn't played with my camera. I'm going to go out and come back in. Okay, hopefully I'm back. Let me make sure I've got my audio correct. So we got correct audio.
We saw who Tanner was on that video, correct?
I think you saw evidence of some horrific things on that video.
Nothing further, Judge.
Ms. Anderson.
Was the person that you saw in that video the same person that you interviewed in the jail?
No, ma'am.
Okay, Ted Bundy was in the LDS church. Let's see. Hannibal Lecter used to be a psychiatrist. I mean, honest to goodness, seriously? So you're telling me that, oh, a monster can be fine for this woman is so gross.
Nothing further.
Ms. Dool.
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
May this witness be finally excused.
Objection, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objections, Judge.
Thank you, Doctor.
All right, so that's where the defense ended yesterday. And then we are ready to start into today. Now it looks like we have another blurred witness for the defense.
But she would. All right, counsel, the witness has told me that she does have a hearing disability, but she would like to start out seeing if she can hear y'all from the tables, and if she can't, just come forward like you did before with the previous witness and make sure you stand where the jury can see her.
Yes,
okay?
Thank you.
All right, both sides ready for the jury?
Ready, Your Honor.
Okay. You do not have to stand up. You sit down. Okay?
That does sound like a good idea. Which is probably why it's a bad idea for me, because that sounds like a tempting idea. I am not sure because they haven't even introduced her yet, and they didn't. The judge and the defense especially, mostly probably because of no one wanting to be linked with Tanner, have been very careful about anonymity. So I don't yet know who is on stand today or right now because they haven't even introduced her.
All right, everyone may be seated. Good morning. I apologize for the delay, but we are ready to get started. This witness has been previously sworn to testify truthfully. Mr. Goble.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm going to refer to you as Michelle for the purpose of this hearing. Is that okay? So, Michelle, how do you know Tanner Horner?
I know Tanner. We moved in the neighborhood. I believe it was in 2001, and my son was friends with Tanner.
Are they close in age?
Yes, sir. My son's older than Tanner, like a year.
Okay. And was your son and Tanner similar in other ways besides their age?
Yes, sir.
And how was that?
They both have Asperger's, and they were both bullied a lot in the neighborhood. We lived in a neighborhood that was kind of bad. I didn't know it was bad when I moved in there, but we found out real quick. I drove my kids to school, my children to school every single day. And, but sometimes I had to work later and my son would ride the bus. And when my son would ride the bus, Tanner rode the bus also. And sometimes Tanner got locked out of his house when he was just a little boy. My son was probably 11 when we moved in the neighborhood. And so that would make Tanner 9.
So let's start by backing up on the bullying. You said that they were both bullied, or just Tanner?
No, they were both bullied.
And who was doing that?
There was some neighborhood boys in the neighborhood. There was like 3, and then those 3 had a couple other ones that were older. There were like 2 older ones, and then the 3 boys, they had 2 older ones, and then they had one that was, I think, younger than Tanner, I think.
And what do you mean by bullying?
They would beat them up.
Like physically?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the injuries?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever try to intervene?
Mm-hmm. All the time.
Could you say yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you're fine.
Yes,
Sorry.
sir. Yes, sir.
So how did you try to intervene?
Well, one day when my son saw Tanner sitting on the porch, and my son said, "Mama, I have to go down there and save Tanner." And I said, "Okay." He went down there.
You're telling Jacob hearsay. What somebody else told me.
Go ahead. You can say it. Go ahead.
My son came home and said, "Mama, I have to go down there and save Tanner." And I said, "Okay." And so my son ran down there to save Tanner, and then my son ran home and said, "Mama, they're after me, they're after me." And I said, "Who?" And then so those boys came to my house, and they came to my door, and that one mean boy had on a ball cap, and his ball cap was on my head right here. And I said, "You might have to go through me before you get to my boy." And I said, and I did say this, I said, "Bad boys, bad," because they were all 3. I said, bad boys, what you gonna do when they come for you?" And I dialed 911, and the police.
What in the Jerry Springer Cops episode are we talking about here? Oh, for the...
Came, and all them boys, and I think the little boy was probably 9 years old, and they were all getting arrested at that time. And that was, I don't know what year or anything like that, but
Let's keep it question and answer.
Slow down for just a second here. Well, let's I want you to jump forward a little bit on those 3 particular boys. Besides calling the police, was there other ways that you ended up kind of intervening in their lives?
Mm-hmm. Well, those boys had a bad upbringing. They were very poor. And I made friends with them because their living situation was real bad. And so I walked a lot in the neighborhood.
See, I don't know where the defense is going from this, because according to all of their other witnesses, the grandparents were doing their best. And there is a difference between poor and trashy. And I'm sorry, but I don't know that. Thank you so much for your Modly Mod duties, Wolfram. And I'm sorry that your son was bullied, but your son didn't go on to be violent, did he? He didn't go on to take the life of anyone. So can we drop it?
Let me go ahead and get to the question.
But I walked by where those boys lived.
Sure.
And so that's how I knew that they had a bad neighborhood, and I made friends with the mom and the daddy. And I told those boys that if they needed a place to stay in the winter, in the rain, that they could come stay at my house. And so I made friends with them.
And why would they have needed a place to stay?
They lived in a tent in the yard.
Did you ever take anything to them?
I took clothes for my son.
Well, let's go back to Tanner for a second.
Let's go back to child services. Why were children allowed to stay in a tent? We're coming back to this problem of Schrodinger's defendant. He either has loving grandparents who did their best, or they were in a terrible, trashy neighborhood and he was living in a tent. Because I can't see social services, who are obviously involved with Tanner because he did have, an IEP and a chaotic childhood situation, would be okay with them staying in a tent.
Talked about Tanner being locked out of his house. How often did you see that?
A lot.
He came come home from school and he just couldn't get in. So did your son play with him outside? What did they do?
No. Sometimes Tanner would come over and I'd give him snack, and then grandma would get home and then he would go home.
Now, I do believe that because this is more of a punishment trial rather than an adjudication of guilt or innocence, they are allowed to get more into character witnesses. These witnesses are all supposed to be encouraging a single juror or several jurors to find a mercy for him. I don't know. Again, I think you could have put in his horrible childhood and his mother's substance abuse. You could talk about substance abuse and autism. But him getting bullied, I think, is just so grating. It was always going to be strategically very, very iffy, very chancy to talk about Tanner's childhood when he robbed he robbed a child of their childhood when he was an adult. So the defense has had to do this sort of balancing act where Tanner is profoundly, impaired, but not profoundly impaired. And it doesn't work. Just like he had loving grandparents, but he was also poor and lived in a tent. There are ways you could have defended this. There are ways you could have done it with integrity. And over, this defense has picked the lowest common denominator and the slimiest moves.
Do you know why no one would have been home when he came home?
Grandma was working.
She worked a lot?
Well, she had to. She was the only one that I knew of that was taking care of Tanner and the little boy.
Did you get to know her?
I met her a few times. I was very, very busy. And when I met her a couple times.
Do you know who else lived with Tanner?
His little brother, and his grandpa.
And when you talked about the little brother, did you ever see Tanner with his little brother?
Some. He wagged him around some.
He was dragging him around? Is that just like a typical older brother thing? Or? And how did you see him treating his brother?
He was kind to his brother.
Do you know if Tanner had his own room in the house?
He had a room, but it wasn't his room. It was his mom's room, but she wasn't there. But then when she came home, he was maybe 13, 14 years old. She had been gone that long. And he had to share it with the little boy. And then when the mom came home, he had to go live out in the shed. And my son was down there helping him clean up. And my son came home and said, Mom.
Why the hell does the mother have like her own mausoleum in a very small house? If the grandparents, again, how did DCYF not note this as child neglect?
It's terrible. I can't do it. Because my son has Asperger's also, and they have to have structure. And my house was structured for my son. And when my son saw that, they go like this. I can't do it, Mama, I can't do it. Will you help us? And I said, I can't, I don't have time, babe. I don't have time to help do that. But when they're in a bad structure and it's not learned out for them, or if something changed, for instance, if,
Okay, let's keep this question and answer.
Also, not to mention, again, Tanner had every opportunity to find a job that was repetitive and mind numbing for most of us, would have probably been a great job, something very menial. Again, machining, tooling, and not to take away from anyone who does machinist, like the cat machines, because those things are hard. I don't know how you do it. But I mean more like widget things like, oh, this widget needs to be broken off. That would probably be something that most of us would find painfully boring. Tanner had the opportunity. He could have gone to career centers, say, hey, I have these sort of fixations. I can do mindless, repetitive work really easy, but if things change, they bother me. He could have gone on the Google machine and said, hey, what are good jobs for people that are on the spectrum? And good employers for people that are on the spectrum. And I'm sure he could have found things. He decided to choose a career where he would have to change, where he would have to interact with the public, where he would have to be responsible for ever-changing logistics. Again, FedEx is not a job where you can do the same thing day in, day out. Tanner, you continue to say, is high functioning. He could have done all of these things. But where is it society's job to make sure that Tanner picks a right job so he doesn't go all murdery on us? Because, as a society, we kind of expect everyone to, maintain control of themselves enough to not go murdery.
So can you talk about your son having Asperger's and Tanner being different too? What were some of the other things you noticed about Tanner that made you think he was neuroatypical?
Tanner wasn't as mature. He was more younger than his age.
Now, eventually, his
Oh my Bob Ross. I didn't think that they were going to pull this. Now, I have made reference to this when I used to work with people with developmental disabilities that, and this was someone that would be considered profoundly impacted. He did have the mental tested and actualized age of about 7 or 8. So yes, we as his care workers, as his community integration coordinators, would have to make sure we didn't go to places with small children because obviously, yes, people who just looked at him would see an older man trying to talk to a little girl inappropriately. So we were there because he was profoundly impacted because he thought he was 7 when he was in his 50s. And we had to be there to be that protective barrier for him and for society. That wasn't Tanner. I mean, these things are generally noted when you are lower functioning, and this has been a problem. This was on this gentleman's record for a long time. And the thing is, there are people that can be screened for this, especially if you do have a greatly impacted kind of form of autism. So this is such BS.
So the whole time you knew him, was it always that way?
But I basically worry that the defense is now going to bring up that he was much less mature mentally. So he was naturally attracted to younger people, which, ew, gross. And I swear to goodness, we will be skipping the rest of the defense if they go anywhere near that subject.
He didn't.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Did that lack of maturity and the living situation eventually put a strain on his friendship with your son?
Yes, sir.
Did they stop hanging out?
That wasn't what happened.
Okay, tell me.
My son was bullied so much at school that in 7th grade, 8th grade, he was in the alternative school quite a bit. And he liked it in the alternative school because he was like the only one and there was only like 2 or 3 people and he made really good grades and he did really good.
Mm-hmm.
So I took my son out of the public school and put my son in a Christian school. And so then he wasn't around Tanner as much because then he made different friends.
Okay. And to your knowledge, did Tanner have a lot of friends?
Oh, no, sir, I'm sorry.
And was there a time when Jackie had suggested that the boys have a joint birthday party?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me about that?
Because Tanner didn't have very many friends, and he and my son, was his friend. And, Jackie noticed that we were loving on Tanner, and, she found out that they had the same birthday. Tanner's is one day before my son's, but my son was in '89. And, she worked where she could make cakes. And so I let my son, and we had a birthday party down at Tanner's house for them. I don't remember the year or how old they were.
How'd the party go?
It was nice.
Did you ever see Tanner with a girlfriend?
Tanner had his first girlfriend. I don't remember how old, and I'm not going to mention her names, but he was so excited, and he brought her to me.
Did
he? He was happy.
Okay, was he allowed to have contact with her? How? I know you're glossing over ages, but ages happen to be very important in this case. Thor, we get it. You are more. Look, this is why I put you over here. I have to click the button. You are ridiculous. Sir, stop bonking the mic. He's like, I am the diva. Real, if you bite my hand, do you guys know why he's doing this, right? This cat has extra perception of when I am wearing black. Now, he likes to turn it gray. Yes, okay, fine. Look, all right, I have to pet him and I can use my hand to click, but if I stop and do anything on the computer, I cannot be in chat. Thor demands all the time attention.
What about music? Did you see Tanner develop an interest in music?
They liked Christian rock.
Uh-huh.
There's different types of Christian music, and they liked the more hard rock Christian music.
You say they, you mean Tanner
My son and Tanner.
They both kind of had this musical interest.
And then Tanner got a guitar and he played the drums.
Yeah.
And so my son eventually would go.
I love that she said guitar. He's a guitar. What, sir? I am petting you. Do not use your paw to, Mister. At least, Nick gets patted on the shoulder respectfully, even if there are nails. Thor's like, no, I will turn off your mic and bat you in the face, woman.
Down there in the shed, and my son wanted a guitar, so I got my son a guitar. And then there was these big boys, older boys than Tanner and Herman.
You're all right.
Okay, just hold.
And they ransacked and stole their guitars and broke into my son's house, our house, and stole my son's guitars. A guitar.
So his life of evil started with a stolen guitar.
Did you talk about kind of the ways that your son and Tanner might behave differently? Did you ever see Tanner act out?
I never saw Tanner act out.
And you had mentioned Tanner's mother, maybe moving back in. Did Tanner ever mention his mother to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did he say he missed her? Or
He missed his
mad at her?
mama. He wanted his mama.
And what?
That also is contradictory to me. Now, that may be more of my inability to understand feelings and logic and how they interplay. But again, hitherto now, all we have heard in relation to Tanner and his incubator is that he didn't like her being around. She constantly changed his life around, and that he didn't have a room because his mom was in and out of his life.
As a mother of a child with Asperger's, what are some of the difficulties that you had to deal
Oh,
with?
gosh. Like I said, okay, may I give a for instance, Ron?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you told them, we're gonna go have pizza after school, and that's what they think about all day long. We're gonna go have this pizza, okay? You pick them up from school, and you say, well, we can't go have pizza. We're gonna go have a hamburger. I don't want a hamburger. I want pizza. You said we were gonna have pizza. Maybe we're gonna have a hamburger. We've been invited. I don't wanna go. I'm not going. I'm not going. I'm not going. And then the aggravation, like 100 times. If you, a normal person, changed the plans, it would be, okay. But they've been thinking about that pizza all day long. And you cannot change their routine like that. You can't change it.
Because we were thinking about this. Look, we've set this up. We know that we have to go outside. We have figured out that we are going to have to go outside. We are going to have to people. I usually charge my earbuds if I know we're going to people. Especially, my family loves this hibachi restaurant, and if I don't have at least one earbud in, honestly, it's like an out of body experience because I don't know if anyone else does this, but the background noise of the half understood conversations kind of disorientates me. Like I don't feel like I can focus on conversations around me because I'm only hearing the rumbling in the background. Now I will say that I with an earbud and like a podcast in, I can do it or music, but you don't want to see me people when I don't have an earbud.
If you say,
Then you talked about your son actually did better in the alternative class.
Mhm.
Were there resources
Yes, sir.
that were helpful for him to succeed?
Yes, sir.
JKB Buck,
What kind of things would help?
for you?
Just being in that environment, the smaller environment, where there was only 2 or 3 children in that environment, it was,
Luke
they can't,
Skywalker.
they have a very hard time in a big setting. It's very hard for them. They can't, it's hard for them to comprehend a big group. My son that was the only time my son had a birthday party with somebody else. That was his birthday. He's not having a birthday party with anyone. My dad and my nephew's birthday is in August. He did not even want to have his birthday with his grandpa or his nephew. It was his day.
I want to ask you a question about you. Have you been involved in prison ministry?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me about that, please?
I did prison ministry just with the women, Tarrant County, for 5 years. And street ministry and homeless ministry also. I'm still doing homeless ministry and street ministry.
And good on this woman. Look, I know a lot of people probably have a lot of thoughts about her. And you know, good on her for going to the places and people that a lot of people don't want to extend kindness to. That being said, you really have to speak up for Tanner.
We can't be conformed to the world. We have to have a renewing of your mind. You can't be conformed to the world. You have to transform your mind into God. And if you let God transform your mind, then things can be better. And if people just have to know that Jesus can.
Ma'am, please know No, because I know Tanner said that he found God or Where's Waldo or Buddha or someone. I don't care who he found in the spiritual realm. I'm glad someone's on his side because the rest of the world thinks he's a jackass.
Change your world. Jesus can change your mind, and Jesus can make things better. He can, and he will if you let him. If you let him in, he will, and he can.
Let me look at my notes here real quick.
I even let
Okay, hang on, let me ask a question.
One second, Sean. Get back. Yeah, I'll pass the witness. Thank you.
Cross-examination. Yes, Sean. Just asking you to talk a little bit about your son. How's your son now?
My son now is maturing more now than he ever has. He had an upset a year and a half ago, and it was a death in the family, and it just took him down hard. There was no communication between he and I. If you say one wrong word, it blocks.
So you don't have communication with your son right now, is what I'm getting from this, which I'm sorry. Look, family discord is really hard, but why are you up here? Your son, ma'am, you know what they're asking. They're asking if your son did anything violent, which I'm guessing he didn't.
The communication. But my son is older, and he's more mature now. He has 2 children he has to take care of, and they're great children. My grandson plays 3 instruments.
So your son was able to foster a relationship to the point, or multiple relationships to the point where a child was produced. I understand, but it seems like he is involved with those children and is being a good parent from your telling. Again, these are the kind of things that the state is asking you.
My granddaughter is an excellent draw. She can draw and paint. My son has been, his wife works and he stays home and has taken care of the children their entire life.
So, ma'am, with Asperger's, he can deal with the absolutely chaotic adventure that raising children is. He was able to adapt and create structure, being a stay-at-home parent. He didn't need a state facilitator to come in and tell him, "Hey, make sure you don't unalive any kids today." But it sounds like she did a pretty good job. I mean, and he found a relationship. He was able to, again, have a functioning relationship. He stays home. His wife goes to work. He's involved with the children. And even for an inside cat, struggles with social stuff, he's having kids and having them in school is a lot of interaction. So it sounds like he is adapting to life quite well. It sounds like he is actually, well, I think she means more on the emotional, because I'm gathering all of this from sort of context clues. But I've gathered that he's been in a stable relationship for 13 years, because she said all of his life he's been at home. So she's not telling it well, but I think he has adjusted, but I think it's more that he doesn't have a relationship with her is kind of what I'm getting at, or what I'm getting from this, is that she maybe said something or wasn't supportive when a family member passed, and then he has cut communication with her, which as a mom, I can understand is much more relevant to her, but not so relevant to the story.
So wife works, he's married and got 2 kids.
Yes, sir.
When's the last time you saw Tanner Horner?
We moved out of the neighborhood in 2011, or probably 2011.
So that's,
So we have someone on from 2011. Defense, sit the hell down and shut the heck up.
15 years.
15 years ago, that's the last time you saw him?
Yes, no, that's not true. I saw Tanner one day at the gas station, and he came up to me, and he was like, hi, do you remember me? Kind of like a little kid would. And I said, of course, Tanner, I remember you.
So other than that, you haven't had any contact with him in the last 15 years?
Correct, sir.
That's what it's.
Redirect.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
May she be finally excused?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is your next witness here?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
okay.
Okay. And I am not sure. Let's.
Testimony given this cause, be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay, just have a seat. Be careful, that chair's kind of, it's a county issue, so be careful, okay? Okay. There's a rule of evidence in effect that says you cannot be in court unless you testify. And once you have testified, don't discuss your testimony with anybody else except the lawyers, okay? Don't be nervous, you'll do just fine, okay? All right, Mr. Coble.
Your Honor,
Ms. Ashe.
Oh, uh-huh.
the efforts witness.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. And will this be your witness?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not liking the religious aspects being brought in, especially. Here's the problem I find with it, and maybe your problems are different, but oh no, is everything blurry? I have no idea, you guys. I really don't. Oh, everything is blurry because this witness, Boosh, you know I don't get humor for the love of Cheetos. And Haley, yeah, I do hope that your nephew is getting the support he needs, at least at school. I know that schools are a lot better now, at least here in Indiana. Yeah, like I said, I may resemble not getting humor. That's why I say there needs to be a sarcasm font. Like I said, there has been this uncomfortable realization that I might resemble a lot of these traits that I just thought were normal during this trial. So, yeah, this has been a weirdish trial.
I'm just very nervous. Morning.
You doing okay?
I'm just very nervous about being here, and I'm just very nervous right now.
Well, I'm going to try not to take up too much of your time. As you know, we're not using your real name today, and you've asked to be called Jay, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, Jay, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your relationship with Tanner Horner. How do you know Tanner?
I met him back in 2014. Through mutual acquaintance, I'd really not like to give the specific details on who, but we have a mutual acquaintance, and at that point, we became friends.
Well, how long have you known him?
From that point, we were pretty good. We were close from 2014 all the way up to, I'd say, I think 2017 or 2018.
Now, Jay, you said that you had met Tanner through mutual acquaintances. Was Tanner dating one of those acquaintances?
No, ma'am.
Was Tanner later dating another acquaintance of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
When was it that he was dating that acquaintance of yours?
I'd say 2015 or 16.
While he was dating this acquaintance, would you two get together and hang out?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, how often would y'all get together and hang out?
I'm trying to think because the dates are kind of When I lived in that area, he'd usually come over every other day, and on the weekends, we would stay up all night, laughing, watching.
This is horrifying. I mean, I feel terrible for this guy. He so doesn't wanna be linked to Tanner, he so doesn't wanna be there, and for a defense that's constantly reminding us what triggers autism or spectrum things. Also, yeah, how old was the acquaintance, and was it dating or I I don't what does this guy add? If anything, the jury's going to feel sympathy for this man, but not so much for the defendant. Again,
And spirit science and other stuff.
What is spirit science?
It was a YouTube channel show that he showed me about crystals and energy and all that stuff.
At some point, did Tanner and your acquaintance end their romantic relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
After that, did y'all still continue to hang out?
Not as often. I shortly moved away from that area, and at that point, I started seeing him less and less. And once I started my own, when I got married, we stopped seeing each other at that point.
When, after Tanner and your acquaintance broke up, you said that you didn't see him often, but did you still consider him a friend?
At that point, yes. And in fact, I didn't start seeing him again until around 2021. I was going through issues with a relationship, and I had nobody to help me with my son. And so I was working with a security detail.
sir, I swear to all that is goodness and hoodness, if you say that you let Tanner watch your son, and look, I am not saying that if I knew my nephew has ASD, and I know my nephew, and if I felt like he were up to the challenge and he was okay with it, I'd let him watch my youngest, most feral, but I like him too much. But I swear to goodness, if they say that Tanner was a babysitter, I'm going to need something.
Time, and I would occasionally drop my son off with him and his wife and his son, and so they would watch him while I went to work.
Did that help you out a lot?
Yes, it helped me keep my job.
So over the years, it seems like you spent a lot of time with Tanner. How well would you say you know him?
Years ago, I could say I know him pretty well, but as the time progressed from that point, we went distance. It was in 2022, I moved to another city, and at that point, I stopped talking to him and stopped talking to me, and that was pretty much the end of it. Then I saw in the news about what was going on, and I was still in shock to believe this, because this didn't.
Well, Sebastian, that's my worry too. My worry is that, especially with the witness we had yesterday who tried to get back into a relationship with him and had children, was Tanner choosy? I guess I wonder, these are not usually predilections, not that I'm an expertologist in this, but these are not usually desires or proclivities that come out overnight. So I really worry that there are potentially so many more victims of this person out there because of naive, parents like the woman yesterday, and then this gentleman allowing their kids around him. I mean, I I don't wanna think that way. I hope that the parents involved or have any connection around this defendant have talked to their children and gotten them the help they need if something happened, but that has to be a legitimate fear, I would think.
It seemed like the Tanner I had once known, so I didn't know what to make of it, and I was, I looked at my son and I was like, kind of shocked that I was still processing this, because it's not every day that someone you consider your best friend at the time, you think that.
Well, Jay, you said that when you saw the news, you were shocked because that wasn't the Tanner that you know. So let's talk about the Tanner that you knew back then. What kind of guy was Tanner when y'all were hanging out like that?
Well, I don't exactly have common sense, but I always thought Tanner as a kind of like a goofball, someone fun to hang out with, because he'd show up smoking cigarettes, making jokes, playing Yu-Gi-Oh card game with me, and just laughing and drinking alcohol. So.
Well, what's Yu-Gi-Oh?
It's a card game based off a TV show that came out, I believe, in 1990.
Yu-Gi-Oh? JKD Buck, I am praying that nothing happened, but I don't see either of these two parental personalities being the type that would catch on to anything being wrong or emotionally off with their children. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping if it's their child and their child starts exhibiting signs of withdrawal or depression or anything like that, that they would notice and get them and try to find out. If I'm being honest with my observations of both of these witnesses, I don't think they would know if their kids were involved. And that's why, not for lack of care, but common sense, let's say, just like he did, or naivety.
What kind of show is that?
It's an anime kid show. Well, it's an anime show. It was originally targeted for teenagers, but for kids, for America, wound up making it for like 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, and that's kind of what I was growing up on. So it's kind of cool to find someone who can play that card game.
Other than the Yu-Gi-Oh, why do you think y'all got along so well?
Well, since I had graduated high school at the time, it was hard to find other people who shared the same interest I did at that point, and we just hit it off. We had a good time. So.
Y'all had the same similar sense of humor?
Kind of, yeah.
Y'all like the same kind of TV shows?
I wasn't really into the spirit science. I would just watch it to, like, he wanted to say, hey, come watch this. However, he did get me onto a TV show, YouTube channel called Team 4-Star, which is probably the funniest YouTube channel I've watched.
I'm gonna write that one down. I'll have to check that one out. Did y'all have the same taste in music?
Yes.
What kind of music were y'all listening to?
We were listening to rock, metal, heavy metals.
Ma'am, there are not enough gummy nerds in the world. Okay, I will get the beatus before I get sanity. What? I don't care if you found the funniest daggone channel. Thank God you didn't link my channel to this case. I mean, good Lord, can you imagine the YouTube channel he just listed as being, one that Tanner really liked? I'm sure they enjoy that free publicity. Yikes.
Screamo, pretty much that.
You mentioned Screamo. What is Screamo?
It's pretty much when you were screaming the lyrics.
So more screaming, less singing?
It depends on how you want to look at it.
Okay. Through the years that you knew Tanner, did you ever have the opportunity to meet his family?
Yes, I did. I met his grandparents, and I've always liked them. Bill used to tell me out of all the people that Tanner brought over, he respected me the most. And I think it's because I had a grandparent who was in the military at one point, and seeing Bill, I had respect for him. And I know Tanner and him never really got along together, but I've always liked Bill. And he, in fact, before he passed away, he handed me a book to read, and I really wish I could remember the name of it. I'm sure I have it still. And but I was always respectful to him and Jackie, and Jackie was always sweet and nice to me. Anytime I came over, she asked if I wanted anything, or yeah.
Well, it sounds like Bill was tough on Tanner.
Yes, I'd say just the typical amount, like, hey, get your room clean, hey, don't talk like that, and come on, you need to respect me and Jackie, that kind of deal. I never even seen Bill as like rough, I just see him as any other person would see a man of that stature.
Well, Jay, did you ever see Bill yelling at Tanner?
Yes, I've seen that multiple times.
When he was yelling at Tanner, what kinds of things was he saying to him?
I don't remember what the conversation was about. I remember, the images in my head of him yelling, but I don't remember what it was about. I remember Tanner would turn around and he would roll his eyes and then would walk to his room or back in the backyard, pick up a cigarette, and he'd start smoking and venting towards me.
Did you ever hear Bill telling him that he was a screw off?
Yes.
Did you ever hear him telling him that he was a piece of trash, just like his mother?
I don't remember the part about.
You know, if I have a 30-year-old grandson who refuses to keep a job, decided to, reproduce and refuses to do anything with his life other than live in my shed and do not legal street pharmaceuticals, I think I would call them a freaking loser too. If I got a little heated because, they leave trash everywhere and, make the property look bad, I think I might get a little heated too.
The piece of trash part, but I know there was some comparisons to him and his mom. Unfortunately, a lot of that time, I get easily distracted, and when they showed me Doctor Who and the TV was on, I was, sorry.
It's okay. Do you recall a time when Bill got mad at Tanner just for accidentally breaking something?
Not to my recollection. I mean, it probably happened, but I don't remember.
Do you remember telling us a story about a ventilation hood?
No, that wasn't with Bill. That was
No, Tammy, this is not the son of the woman that just testified. This is another one of his friends. This is from still pretty back in the day, but not as far in the past as 2011. This gentleman was friends with Tanner from 2014 to 2019. So we do get a little bit of a closer time period, but he is not the same. At least they haven't introduced him as being related to the woman before him.
place I was living at, and it belonged to a relative of mine, that ventilation hood.
Oh, okay. Did you meet Tanner's mother, Melissa?
One or two times.
What was she like?
She barely knew I was there. She was mostly cooped up in her room asleep most of the time. She, like I said, she didn't even acknowledge I was really there.
Did you ever see her and Tanner together?
Not really. Most of the time, hey, come over to my room, and I just chill in his room, or I'd sit in the living room, or one of those two.
Did you recall ever saying Melissa, or hearing Melissa badmouth him, or belittle him, or berate Tanner?
Yes.
Well, what was that like?
I remember one time I came over to his house to hang out with him, and we're sitting there in the living room, and I don't remember what they were yelling at, but she was screaming at him or something, and he was upset. He turned around, he pulled me, he's like, hey, come on. And then he said, I can't stand hers, and he said something else. Like, barely recall. It's been a long time.
Jay, during the time that you knew Tanner, do you know if how often was his mom around?
Not that often. Like I said, the two times I did see her, that was, she had came out of the room. Other than that, she was hardly ever there. I think she might have been incarcerated, or she was out somewhere. I'm not sure.
But you did know that she wasn't in the house?
She was hardly there.
How did that affect Tanner?
Well, I think at that point, he was over it, and he didn't care anymore. I'm sure deep down it bothered him, but at a certain point, I think he just stopped caring.
Jay, I want to go back to this acquaintance that Tanner had been dating. How long did they date? If you know.
I think it was 2 or 3 years.
What was their relationship like?
One of them was very clingy. The other one was constantly hitting his own head because he'd rather hurt himself than hurt her. And she would turn around and antagonize him a couple of times. But there were moments where he would turn around and try to do sweet things for her.
You said that one of them was very clingy. Was that the woman?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said that Tanner would hit his head rather than hurt her.
Yes.
Tell me about that. What would she do to make him want to hit his own head?
Well, so a lot of times she'd cut him off and wouldn't listen to him, and it would make him upset, and he would just go like that. Or he'd hit his head against the wall a few times.
And Your Honor, for the record, I would like the record to reflect that the witness was making a fist and putting it to the side of his head several times.
Record also reflect.
Jay, when Tanner would hit himself in the head, how hard would he hit himself?
Pretty hard. I could hear it.
So Tanner was able to make a cognitive functional choice while he was in a period of deep stress to inflict pain upon himself and not others. So even in periods where he was deeply triggered, according to you, he was able to make a choice as to whether to, hit a wall or hit a person. Is that what we're getting to?
I was like, hey, dude, you all right there? And then he'd spit, he'd take another puff from the cigarette or whatever, and he would try to tell me she's driving me freaking crazy, and he would admit that how she was making him feel.
In spite of all of the antagonism, and despite how many times you antagonized him, did you ever see Tanner become physically aggressive towards this woman?
No.
Instead, would he turn that towards himself?
Yes.
Was that common for him to hit himself in the head like that?
Yes.
How often would you see things like that happen?
Things would be fine. If he was coming over to visit with me, he'd be fine and whatnot. But when she'd come over, about maybe after a few minutes, and there we go, the yelling and the cursing, and that's when he would start hitting himself.
Could you tell what would trigger these, for lack of a better word, these meltdowns?
Just about anything. He might have looked the wrong way, and she would get upset, and or he didn't do something, or he didn't know what she was thinking, and she'd get mad and scold him for it.
At any time during these meltdowns, did you ever see Tanner destroy property?
Yes, one of those times, there was a ventilation hood that was on that property I was staying at. It belonged to some relatives of mine. They were using it, and he turned around, he took his frustration out on that.
Did you ever see Tanner take his frustrations out on another human being?
No, not even when my spouse had.
It doesn't matter, sir. I don't care if for 99 years you don't red rum someone. The minute you red rum someone, I don't care what you did the 99 years before. I'm wondering if there's a flicker in our internet because it pops right back up. He pled guilty to first degree kidnapping, capital murder, and then aggravated SA. It's also under aggravated murder since he murdered her in the commission of a felony. So I believe those are the 3 charges that he pled to. Now, the 2 survivors that came on, their trials are not yet even on the schedule, but he has been indicted and charged with those crimes.
Tell me about that. What happened?
We were at Walmart late at night, and we were laughing, joking around, and she was playing, and she got him in the groin, and he was in a lot of pain. He was so mad. He just suggested just take me home, take me home right now. And so I dropped him off, and then my spouse and I continued to go about our evening.
Jay, did you said that you and Tanner had similar taste in music and that he was a good musician. Was Tanner ever in a band?
Yes, Sacred Sounds.
What kind of band was that?
It wasn't quite screamo or hardcore. It was, I'd say, more like punk rock.
Were they good?
I thought so. I liked the band.
Did you go see a lot of their shows?
When I went to Tomcats, I did.
Did you ever see, you said Tomcats, was that an all-age?
No, I think there were 21 and up. I'm not sure. I remember. I know it was a venue on Altamir.
Did you ever see any young women hanging out with the band?
Well, there's a lot of young women there, I think so. It's kind of a blur on that part. Like some of the images, the memories I have of Tomcats and of the band, I barely recall. I have one image where it was Jackie there trying to sell merch, and there was also one image where I climbed up on.
I very much hope that the defense is not going to again try to malign the two brave young women that came forward as, you know, basically being the aggressor on Tanner. The defense went out of their way to claim that these two girls basically, you know, made all these choices and did all these, you know, nefarious things, and they were drinking and they were doing drugs. And so, you know, they were going over to boys' houses. And I really, really, really hope that they are not going down the line of he didn't allegedly SA every single minor girl. But it seems like we're going down that route.
Their bus, they were showing me out, and that was pretty cool.
During the time that you spent with Tanner and the band and those people, did you ever hear any allegations of sexual abuse against any of these young women?
Judge, I'll object. The call for hearsay.
Sustained. No, you don't have to answer.
Oh, sorry.
And Your Honor, that does not go to, it's not hearsay because it doesn't go to the truth of the matter asserted?
The objection is
Heifer, drop it.
sustained.
Jay, a minute ago, you had talked about Tanner hitting himself in the head and that he would smoke a cigarette.
Good on you, Judge. I think there was a bit of silent communication right there where he said, that's sustained. Now, again, I'm a little bit of a tonal quality nerd, but I have rarely heard that sort of firmness in the judge. He's very much been very jovial in his tone, and there's been a few times, but this is the sternest kind of, that's a line we're not crossing. Haley, he might be, but it also might be social anxiety. I think there's a temptation with how ubiquitous the spectrum is that we can, and I think out of kindness mostly, interpret anxiety or discomfort or social anxiety as autism. And he may very well have a diagnosis, but I don't know. So he could very well, or he could just be incredibly nervous. I mean, to be called by the defense in a trial like this, to have to associate yourself with the defendant and, you know, be seen, whether rightly or wrongly, by people who don't follow trials and don't understand that you can't ignore a subpoena, you know, might think that he's here on behalf of the defendant. He does have a lot of mannerisms, but again, I'm trying not to assume, I guess. But I would think if he did, or he was on the spectrum and he had a medical diagnosis, the defense would have brought that out. Now that's a double-edged sword because it seems like he's married and that kind of thing. Yeah, I noticed that he was remarkably verbally or verbose. I mean, he was sort of stilted, but he didn't have any of the markers of people I've known. Whereas this is much more reminiscent of my nephew, and he's doing a great job. I think, again, you know, I can't imagine what it would be like to be on the stage or on the witness stand.
Or something to help him calm down. What did you mean by or something? Did you ever see Tanner smoke marijuana?
Yes, ma'am.
In the environment where Tanner grew up, were there a lot of people around him that did drugs?
Other than his mother, not that I know of. I mean, his band and did pot, they did pot,
When you saw Tanner smoking the marijuana, was it just the two of you, or were you more in a social setting?
It was just the two of us.
Jay, did Tanner ever confide in you about being sexually assaulted himself?
Yes, ma'am.
Did y'all object?
We're taking a moxie break. I am going to go. I am going to go use the restroom because I y'all, I can't. I cannot. I can't. If you were actually, Tanner, a victim, how dare you? You knew exactly what it feels like to lose your agency, to lose your freedom, to have someone invade your privacy, your personhood, to go on and do that to other people. If you legitimately were a victim, how dare you? I need a break, y'all. I'm gonna go get a potty break. You have a moxie break. So about a minute and oh, now we've got the 15 of me. Now that is a different one. I do think is related to some storms that are a little bit further away. That being said, I have never been more ticked off in my entire life. Um, I I am so beyond irritated at this tact. It does look like there is a lengthy, sidebar, though, so I am going to give us a moxie break now. Do, 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 do. And it looks like we are ending early today, but it's also law or court TV chat. Let's get a moxie break in here so I can utilize the restroom, and then we'll come back to poor Tanner ridiculousness. We need a break. Yes, Thorberto, we will get you.
Oh yeah, I take it down, minute and a half. Yeah, when the dark gets long and the tea is hot, and the motions filed are quite a lot. When the state says boom and defense says pass, that's when I call my mini ass so classy and sass. Woo! Oh my, see the emotional support mini donkey, tiny but mighty, a courtroom honky tonky. If the trial goes sideways, she don't panic or balk, just a soft little hee-haw and a judgmental walk. Clip clop, trying through the mess. Ears perked, hot and out of rubble distress. When the facts get wild and the lawyers get snarky, I lean on my emotional supporters. If a witness says I can't recall, she side-eyes gently from the stall. If the sidebar lasts all afternoon, she hums a brave and slightly off tune. She's pocket-sized but bold of heart, a fluffy illegal work of art. From board down woes to verdict day, she snacks on hay and leads the way. Oh, Moxie, queen of the pasture class, small but ruling the law to grass. When the timeline spirals and takes get funky, there's peace in a steadfast mini donkey. The clip clop, courage, fluffy and spunky. All hail the emotional support as Moxie. Oh.
And I think I've been very clear that I don't like victimization of anyone, but I'll be doggone if we are going to hear the ballad of Tanner, the perpetual victim. Again, As always, we are going to be talking, or this witness is going to be talking about SA, and we do have Moxie and Puppy Kitten breaks, but this is going to be difficult testimony if any anything like that has touched your life or touched someone you know's life. So do keep in mind you have the power to take your own breaks. And or skip this. You guys know I break up the streams into videos of single witnesses, so you can always bypass this one too.
Let me hear the question. Go ahead.
Did he give you any details without saying what he said? Was he able to give you details?
No, ma'am.
Judge, I'll still object. It's still hearsay.
All right, we hadn't gotten into a conversation. Go ahead.
Was he able to give you any details?
Well,
That
he was
calls
able
for
to,
speculation. I'll object to that. That calls for speculation on his part.
Sustained as to speculation.
Jay, after that initial conversation where Tanner confided in you about being sexually assaulted,
God bless the family. I can't imagine being Athena's family members and having to listen to this, having 3 days now of please feel sorry for this monster. Won't you feel sorry for this monster? He can't control himself, this monster. I couldn't imagine, and this is beyond galling.
did he ever mention it to you again?
no, ma'am. It was one of the times we were drunk together and it slipped out. And when I asked him about it, he didn't give me any details.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Sir, you hung out with Tanner all the way through 2022, didn't you?
We didn't hang out like we did in those first, like 2014 and 2015. It wasn't like that. It was ever so often we'd hang out at that point.
And it kind of seems like a little bit, y'all kind of partied together a little bit. Is that right?
It was, no, not entirely. It was those first 2 years of 2014 and 2015.
Oh, no, that's not what.
And then fixed it.
But back during that time, you talked a little bit about marijuana. That wasn't the only drug you and Tanner did together, was it?
No, sir.
And what all drugs did y'all do together?
We did acid and we also did Molly.
Okay. And did you get that Molly from Tanner?
Yes, sir.
Did you get the acid from Tanner?
Yes, sir.
Were you doing acid and Molly before you got it from Tanner?
No, sir.
Talk a little bit about Bill, and that'll be the last thing I'm going to ask you. You said that you respected Bill, right?
Yes, sir. He was not only was he a veteran, he was a good man.
And that you said something to the effect that he was trying to teach Tanner how to act and how to behave.
Yes, sir.
And you respected that.
Yes, sir.
You think that's a good thing for a parental figure to teach a kid how to behave and how to have respect for people around them?
Yes, sir. I'm instilling that into my child.
Yeah, I would maybe plead the fifth on letting my child stay with Tanner as a good parental idea.
That's what I'm trying.
Redirect.
Limit, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my, I'm so sorry.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
May he be finally excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You're free to go. Just go with the deputy. All right, we're going to take a short break, okay? Call you back in just a little bit.
And I do like that this judge is also giving the jury we saw him be compassionate and, kind to the jury, make sure they had time for really emotional break or when really emotional testimony was coming up or finishing. So I like that he's doing it for the defense as well. You can tell that none of these witnesses are very happy to be there. Well, one was, but she seems to be very happy about a lot of things. So we had a really, really lengthy break there, and I'll have to look on X, while we're getting into this next witness to see if there is any sort of scuttlebutt around why we didn't get any more testimony or any more action today as far as this trial.
All right, are both sides ready for the jury? Ready. Okay.
Yes.
Everyone may be seated. We are ready to proceed. Ladies and gentlemen, this witness has been previously sworn to testify truthfully. Mr. Goble, Ms. Anderson? Okay.
Good morning. Good to speak to you again. The purpose of this hearing, I'm going to refer to you as sworn. Is that okay?
You can answer out, yes or no.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yeah, yes or no's. Housekeeping first. You are a convicted felon, correct?
Correct.
And you were convicted of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and assault family violence with impeding breathing circulation, correct? And you were also convicted of assault causes bodily injury to family members.
Correct.
Now, how did you meet Tanner?
Living in Lake Worth, just overheard his.
So this is, I believe, a hearing outside the presence of the jury. This gentleman's convictions might be the reason that he is getting, the voir dire outside of the presence of the jury.
Music one day and went to his house.
So you just walked up and
knocked on the door with his grandmother, and she said, "Just go on back."
And where did you go?
Just back to the room where the shed where his room was, AC and stuff. And He had a drum set, amps and guitars, and him and Jonathan Harper back there making music.
Were you by yourself?
No, I was with a friend of mine.
And you friends from then on?
Yeah, we eventually just got to know each other, hung out a lot more.
Now tell me, was Tanner serious about his music?
He seemed very serious about music.
Did you ever see him be too hard on himself?
All the time.
What did that look like?
Well, in my opinion, I'm guessing if a majority of the jurors are looking or acting like us, reacting like us, to a very small degree, but if they're losing interest or anything, you would think that either side, state or defense, would be keeping an eye on the jury to see how they're handling what they're giving. I don't know if they feel like they need all of these witnesses to bring any sort of mitigating, defense out. I don't know, but there were more effective ways to do this, I think, and I think they've done it terribly.
Just not a lot of self-confidence, or always pushing himself or not noticing that he was as good as he thought he was. Always trying to push himself, I guess.
Did he play more than one instrument?
He played just about any instrument he could get his hands on.
What about drums? Was that his best?
I would think so.
Was he a pretty good drummer?
Yes.
Did he ever teach you to play any of the instruments?
That is to the best of his abilities. Tried to teach me to play guitar.
What about singing?
He encouraged me to open up and sing more.
Was that good for you?
Was.
Was Tanner in a band when you met him?
I believe so.
His head reminds me of Roger from American Dad.
Or did he join one at some time?
Yes.
What was the name of that band?
The first one I'm not sure of, but Sacred Sound.
And did you ever hang out?
Mystic Spiral.
With that band or work for them or anything?
On occasion, I did a roadie for them, helped with equipment for one of their shows in Dallas.
What was that like?
That was an experience. It was fun. Opened for one of my favorite bands.
Do you know why he left that band?
I thought it would be just problems with the other members.
So what did you and Tanner do when you weren't playing music?
Hung out a lot, walked down to the little beach area. His neighbor had a boat he let us take out anytime. Watched a lot of movies, animes, cartoons, really just hung out.
For people that don't know, what are anime?
Just adult cartoons.
You keep
Not
it out of
American
here.
usually. Are they American usually, or?
There's several American ones, but they're mostly Japanese or foreign.
They are not mostly prawn. Okay, as an anime nerd, look, they are most definitely usually more graphic as far as, yes, they have Thor, stop touching buttons. You are killing me, cat. Yes, they are generally more graphic, but but they're not all pornography. At least not the ones I do. They're tasteful and artistic, and if anyone gets stuck in a wash machine, it's organic to the plot line. I swear to goodness, this trial is making me rethink my life choices.
Illustration and
Now that style, does that involve like big displays of emotion sometimes?
Yes, sir, it does.
Hard to miss what the character's thinking.
Yes, sir.
What about video games? Did you all ever play video games?
Absolutely.
A lot or a little?
Quite a bit, me more so, I believe.
Did you or Tanner or both of you ever use drugs when you were hanging out?
I smoked marijuana. Yeah, he did as well.
Okay.
And there was a time where he had a job at Walmart. So he used K2 substitute. And I believe that was just because they drug tested.
Was K2 legal at that time?
It was.
Now, I want to ask you about Tanner, how he what you observed, basically. How did Tanner handle a new or a difficult situation?
Not as rationally as the next person, or just not greatest at problem solving.
Did you ever know him to get flustered?
Yes.
Can you tell me, give me some examples?
Just while he's drumming, if he's working on a new song and he knows that he missed something, I can notice that he gets flustered while he's drumming. He'll yell or he'll hit himself off beat or something.
Were you with him when a vehicle broke down one time?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I'm not sure what the vehicle was. It was a van when they had back seats.
Did each and every one of the people that Tanner lived with have all of has all of their hair gone to a skullet? And thank you for joining, Malin. Have a wonderful day. I'm liking it. I didn't realize there were so many stories though. So I was a little confused at first, but yeah. Why are we talking? Also, does this gentleman have a ginger skullet? Or is the blurring making him look like he has a ginger skullet?
That reclined in the couches and such. It broke down on the highway, and I don't know, rationally, I would have just pulled over and dealt with the problem, but it seemed to escalate in his mind much further than it needed to, and
So what ended up happening? Getting pulled over to the side of the road?
I think he stopped on the middle of the bridge. Yeah, on the crossover.
Now, you said the K2 that he was using at the time was legal, right?
Right.
Was there a time when he did something irrational about that?
Did something rational?
Irrational with
Irrational?
K2, yeah. Got flustered.
I guess there's an incident where his grandfather had walked in, and instead of just putting it aside, he threw it clear across the room and gave it away. It wasn't very, the processing wasn't there. I don't know.
What about conflict? How did Tanner handle conflict?
Conflict, I've never seen him run towards it, or he doesn't chase conflict. I've never seen him get in an altercation with anybody.
Do you have any examples of when he avoided getting into an altercation with people or with you?
There's an situation where I had stolen his phone, and instead of being mad about it, he'd let it go. Conflict. Aaron, one of our friends, I'm sure there was kind of a bully, I don't know, and instead of standing up to him, and he would never push conflict or try to fight against him or fight back.
So what you're illustrating is that Tanner didn't assert his authority on people that could fight back. In fact, if he was submissive to those he knew could kick his behind, but when he was in a position to have power and authority over someone, did you see him, abuse that? Because that's really the question. I have no doubt that Tanner, being a bully and a monster, didn't go after people his own size. So great defense. Again, point out that he didn't go after people his own size or adults.
So, what about like social cues and social settings? Did Tanner ever struggle with those?
I believe he did.
In what way?
Not being able to read the room when, say someone was uncomfortable with the music he was playing, or the level of the music, how loud it was, or such like that, or continue or dragging on conversations that have reached their end.
Did Tanner ever let you stay with him? Did Tanner ever let you stay with him?
He did.
And what happened? Why?
There was a time in my life where I could no longer stay with my grandmother in Lakewood. So instead of me trying to figure out where to stay next, he just offered me to stay there for a short period of time against his grandmother and grandfather's better judgment.
And you talked about his grandmother was the first member of the family you met. What was she like? Or what is she like?
An angel. Very loving person.
You think really highly of her? Did you meet Tanner's grandfather?
I did.
And tell us about him.
Same way. He's just a very nice, open person.
No sound? Okay. All right, we will go back.
Conversations that have reached their end.
Did Tanner ever let you stay with him? Did Tanner ever let you stay with him?
No,
He did.
I picked the wrong window. It was definitely a operator error. It was a me error. I went to the wrong, you can pick one with audio and one without, and I went to the one without.
And what happened? Why?
There was a time in my life where I could no longer stay with my grandmother in Lakewood. So instead of me trying to figure out where to stay next, he just offered me to stay there for a short period of time against his grandmother and grandfather's better judgment.
And you talked about his grandmother was the first member of the family you met, what was she like, or what is she like?
An angel. Very loving person.
You think really highly of her? Did you meet Tanner's grandfather?
I did.
Tell us about him.
Same way. Just very nice, open person.
What about his mother?
Not so much. I've met her occasionally, but I did not personally know her.
So was there an issue there that you two kind of had in common?
No. As in,
With his mother, him having some issues with his mother, and maybe you being able to be someone he could confide in.
he could confide in me about that, yes.
What, did you ever have a chance to meet Tanner's father?
I believe I did once.
Okay. When was that?
At a Halloween party
Uh-huh.
that his father threw, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
But that was your only time being around him?
Correct.
And Tanner's brother, was that just a typical relationship or something else?
Brother?
Yes.
Yes, just typical younger brother, older brother relationship.
So the two of you hang out with him much or not?
No,
No, sorry.
that's all.
No, sir.
You remember Tanner ever having a girlfriend?
Yes, sir.
Anything particular about that, or was it just normal?
It seems fairly normal.
Now, was there a time when you and Tanner kind of grew apart or weren't hanging out?
Just grew apart, lived separate lives.
And did you have a chance to reconnect with him?
There was when I was running the Jimmy John's store, he came in to, I guess, to get a sandwich. He didn't know I was working there. And that's when, that was the last time I saw him.
Did he get flustered that day?
No, he seemed fine. Oh, actually, I apologize. No. The mayonnaise incident. He got flustered. I guess he's watching his weight. He's trying to get healthy. So when he came in, he ordered a sandwich and he used an app to calculate his calories. And I guess he mistaken and forgot to remove the mayonnaise and sent his calorie count way high. And he just got really flustered. And instead of breaking it down and checking his app,
Is that something visual when you say you got flustered?
yes, visually flustered.
What does that look like?
Shaking back and forth, rocking back and forth, not sitting still, just seemed anxious.
And you recognize that from?
Yes, I recognize that as Tanner. That's kind of how he was.
So that was kind of typical that he could get flustered over something as small as the calorie count?
Yes, sir.
Now, when Tanner was arrested on this charge, did you have a chance to send letters to him?
I did.
Did you call him, or he call you?
He did contact me.
Did you all ever discuss this case?
No.
And was there a reason for that?
There was not. When I first learned of this case, I was under the impression of the story that he released, that he hit her, and I believed the story.
Did he ever tell you that he wasn't supposed to talk about his case, or did you tell him he wasn't supposed to, or?
I've been through the court systems before. I understand that a case such as that, you should not and should be talking about it. And he did also emphasize that he won't give out any details.
Did Tanner ever show you a picture of his son?
I believe he did, yes.
How did he seem about that? Did he seem like a proud dad, or what?
Seemed like a very proud.
Now, Going back to his charges a little bit, you understand he's charged with kidnapping and murder of Athena Catch.
I do.
And you know that he's entered a guilty plea.
I do.
And that this is the punishment stage of the trial.
I do.
Give me 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Gotta pass it.
Cross-examination.
Will do, Your Honor. Thank you. Sir, in serving this, apparently, according to you, mayo or lack thereof set him off.
Correct.
Now, when you said y'all grew apart, and I'm not gonna ask you details, do you have a family now?
Correct.
You have kids?
I do.
I'm not gonna ask you names or anything like that, but you do. Right.
Correct.
Okay. Seems like you have a pretty good assessment of his grandmother and grandfather.
I do.
Would it be right to say that they provided for him?
Yes, it would be.
Would it be right to say that they helped him out even in his older years when he was, say, over 20, even 30 years
Yeah.
old?
Yes, the jury is out. I do believe that there was a lengthy sidebar, perhaps. They get into some things that the jury or they are not allowed to talk about or even publish because there is a bit of this that's behind a screensaver. I am checking to see if they come back or if they're getting ready to come back from lunch.
I would not know that.
Well, during the time that you were around them, were they helping him out
Correct.
financially,
Yes.
food,
Yes.
gave him a place to live?
Yes.
Now, kind of sounds like you guys might have partied together a little bit. Is that right?
Correct.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And y'all didn't just smoke marijuana, right?
Correct.
Y'all drank?
Yes, sir.
What other substances were y'all doing together?
K2.
Okay. No acid?
No, sir.
No. Tanner doesn't, he doesn't do acid?
Not that I'm aware of.
He doesn't do other controlled substances like Molly, MDMA, ecstasy, anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of.
So you know the original story of that Tanner told everybody about
Yes,
what he
I
did. You know that's a lie, right?
Yes, it is.
You know that he kidnapped her now. You know that now.
He's being put guilty for it, yes.
Right. And you know that he murdered her after he kidnapped her.
Yes.
You know there's evidence of sexual assault.
Objection, Your Honor. That calls for speculation on this part. It's not.
Overruled.
Again, I'm hearing a very different tonal quality in the judge, and it might just be me, but I think the judge is getting fed up with the defense. It could be my confirmation bias, but you can tell that he's getting a little frustrated. At least maybe it's me. I don't know.
You may answer the question if you know.
I was unaware.
You have kids. I mean, how's that make you feel?
Not good, sir.
That's what
Now, just to clarify, when we talked about the mayo and what him looking flustered looked like, was that him being violent or you seeing movements? What were you saying there?
No, sir. Not violent, just irrational. Not irrational, just.
And Haley, that's the most, again, the very, very odd thing. He was agitated about, not calculating the mail right, something that he could easily undo because he had just, they hadn't put mayo on a sandwich. He just hadn't taken it off of those, I believe it's blurred. Now, my joke is because he was a screamo roadie, but he's being called by the defense. This man has children. I don't believe that he is happy to be up here. He was told I backed into her and oops, she died. Not the true story. And you can tell that he is not happy to be here. Uh, I believe they are allowing a great deal of anonymity to people that the defense subpoenaed. Otherwise, I do believe that they would have had people not showing up. I do believe that they probably, in order to get people to show up in any sort of form for the defendant, they had to make sure that they were anonymous in as much as they could make them. I believe that's why for the entirety of this case, I do believe that the judge probably foresaw this. And that's why a lot of the witnesses have been, sworn in outside the presence of the jury. So it just looks like some procedure and normal practice. But I do believe that it's to protect the witness. I don't believe many of the witnesses appreciate being called here to try to bolster the defendant.
Anxious, just.
So not the way you would.
And let's be real, the internet is a scary place. All you need is one crazy person who watched this trial, and instead of, realizing that these people were subpoenaed, that they have to show up, assuming that they are there in literal support of Tanner, not that they are required to show up. So, I get the anonymity. I really do. I struggle with the mom's anonymity. I am going to be very honest. I think that the mom, beyond Tanner's own choices, set this in motion. She had so many opportunities to turn her life around, but Tanner ultimately chose his own choices. But I do have a problem with the mom being blurred.
Expect a normal person to process that.
Yes.
Pass the Michelle.
Mr. Staten,
Nothing further on.
may this witness be finally excused?
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna have to send you back to your jury room because I've got some legal stuff that I've got to work through. It's probably gonna be till after lunch, so bear with me, okay? See you in a little bit.
Oh, I was wondering if maybe we would get to hear anything because we do kind of see little. So that must have been in the presence of the jury, which is odd because they said in this hearing. Let me look on the interwebs, see if.
Just wanted to get some.
Yeah, I know he said that he's sending them back for lunch, but typically they are back for lunch from by now. We're a bit early, but they're usually back 2 or 3 our time. I might end this stream and then put up another one so that we can have another stream going. So that is what I'm going to do. Yes. So I apologize. I thought that there was going to be just a short break. So I am going to set up a new stream. Let me do that now. Doo-doo-doo. Share down. I have not been impressed with this defense. Every day or every witness that they continue to put up makes me wonder if they're done yet. I don't find myself interested in what they have to say, and I think that that's a dangerous place to be when you're a defense, especially with a defendant like this, where you are going to have a really hard time humanizing him to anyone, and then to have all these people try to come in and say he's a good person, but he was also my street pharmacist. It's really not a good look. So I will set this to come back at 2. If it comes back earlier, I will start it earlier, but I think my guess is this is going to be a later start. It seems like they have a lot of things to be doing as far as getting information and voir dire possibly. So we are going to come back around 2, and they should be back, hopefully. I am glad the judge was so stern when they were trying to go into sort of blame the victim again with the 2 female survivors. The defense is really, really ballsy for bringing these 2 gentlemen up. They are linked to the time where Tanner allegedly essayed, 2 underage minors. So you would think that having that, you wouldn't bring people related to that time period where any association will remind the jury of that. But they did, because they are incredibly, incredibly, regrettably insane. All right, let me forward you guys to that one. Baker would have had this done an hour ago. But I am not Baker. All right, you guys, I will see you guys in about an hour, 45 minutes. Get lunch break, get potty break, get your snackety snack, emotional support snacks ready to go. And I will see you in just a little bit. Bye, you guys.